Put on your mental track shoes and run with me. This is the Powwow with Myra. Today we have Andrew Million with the Growth Coach. Andy, thanks for being here.
Thanks for inviting me over, Myra.
I really, really appreciate it. And honestly, like talking to you, it's a big challenge because you make me nervous in a good way. In a good way. Nervous because I really look up to you and your leadership style. So I can't wait till we dive a little bit into that. So for now, can you tell us like what you do in your career? Like what do you do today?
So today I drove all the way over here. But no, honestly, thank you for having me over. I mean, I'm humbled that, you consider the tiny little things that I do important. But really, as a business coach and a sales coach, a lot of it is just reminding folks of what they already know how to do. Maybe they've gotten stuck. Maybe they've just got, I don't know how to undo all this. How did I get in this corner? And it's just overwhelming. And
Mm.
then we sit down and we figure out a way to get out of that. And it's a lot of fun. Every day is different. And who knows what sort of an obstacle you run into. Sometimes it's cash flow. Sometimes it's personnel. A lot of times it's personnel. Even more, it's more personnel. And it's just how are these people communicating? How are they getting along? Are they
Mm.
working on the right things? And we just put a little bit of order to that chaos.
I love that. I love that because I feel like especially as I've became an adult and I work with other businesses and every business does things a little bit different and sometimes we need a leader or we need a somebody that's just focused on filling those gaps that we miss every day. I say that because I was reading about you and preparing to talk to
Which
you.
website were you looking?
The growth
Okay,
coach,
okay.
the growth coach, by the way. And you have, I knew you had a very impressive background, but I was reading through some of the things that you outlined, like your work history in the corporate world, and even like the focus in customer service. And I learned you are also certified, so that's really impressive. And I mean, it doesn't really surprise me because you not only say it, but as I was reading it, I could see it from working under your command, basically, right? So as you being my leader at some point in my life, I could see everything you were outlining, and so I want to just kind of acknowledge that, and say thank you for being somebody that's inspired me growing up. The excuse me, and the
Don't get
reason
all mushy. It's not that big.
the reason I say that is because you having like such a like a lot of, I would say, um like being high up in like the corporate world, you had a lot of duties, yet you always managed to have your door open to all of us anytime, basically, and you showed compassion every time. So I think that's like really interesting, especially like I said, especially as I've worked with other people and other people that maybe consider themselves leaders, and I see that big difference. So I just kind of want to dive. I hopefully I can ask the questions to see how that mindset developed in you. All right. So just saying that, I want to start by like your childhood. How do you remember growing up, and like what were the rules like in your household, and where did you grow up?
Yeah, well, I started off as a child.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And it's fascinating to hear you describe literally last Wednesday, another uh, partner we did an entire lunch and learn on leadership.
Mm,
And we literally threw out every adjective. It's like, I don't care about servant this or strategic that. It doesn't matter. It's how are you as a person? Because that's what you're actually trying to, convey out to your staff. You're still trying to get a task done. Well, everybody's motivated differently. The tasks are all different. You have multiple moving wheels.
mm,
How do you get that done? You just have to look around and find out who are the people you have around you, what motivates
mm,
them, and how do you make all that, crazy makes sense. But yeah, short version, I was born in West Orange, New Jersey. My parents lived in East Orange, New York. That was simply the nearest hospital. So we lived in New York till I was 4 on Long Island, right off of Goler Avenue, believe it or not. The reason I mentioned that, I ran into someone in a networking group. They grew up literally like 2 blocks over from where I had. It was a totally small world.
Mhm.
My dad was with IBM at the time, so he took a role out in Colorado. So we moved there when I was 4, and basically grew up there
Mm.
all the way through high school, a couple years of college. At the same time, my parents had moved down here to Texas. Uh, Dad took another job down here. Again, I was in college, so high school buddy, we had an apartment. We did our thing up in Colorado. Mom mentioned that tuition at North Texas was materially lower than what I was paying. So I was like, oh, okay, finance is finance. You can study it anywhere. So moved down here. About a year later, my parents moved back to Colorado, left me here all by myself. But no, my cousin lived up in Louisville at the time. So, yeah, there was still a support network there.
Mm.
Had started dating my wife. So Texas is where I was at. Graduated, and well, now I'm in Myra's living room. So that's the short version.
Wow. Okay. Did you grow up playing any sports or playing any instruments
I have no
or
musical
any?
ability.
No.
You understand what I listen to. So,
Yes.
no, I can't play any of it. The upside is both of my boys have played trombone. They get that skill from their mother. I have no musical ability whatsoever. I am definitely a fan of play all the instruments at the same time as loud as you possibly can. That's music. But I did play baseball, skied, all the normal things that, folks would do. It was Colorado where you're growing up. You're outdoors all year long. So absolutely love that. And now you move down here to Texas and you have to adapt a little bit because it's kind of hot during the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You just figure it out.
So if you jumping over to your teenage years and say in high school. So if you and I were friends in high school, if you and I were buddies, who was Andy Million in high school?
First off, those records have been sealed, so I can't talk about that.
Okay.
But no, in all transparency, I went to an all guys high school, Regis. So if you were there, that would have been interesting.
Oh,
But
okay.
yes, I had friends. I mean, that was fine.
Oh.
I it was a great group of guys. We didn't really have, and it was also a small school, so you got to know everybody. You got to know what made them tick. You found out what their strengths, where they needed some help, and that's really how the school was built. Was we're all in this together. Go figure it out. So if you had a buddy who was having trouble in I don't know algebra, okay, well math is my thing. So you just help. I mean that's just how it was. And I enjoy working on cars, and found a couple other guys that were very interested in that. And shoot, we had a lot of fun.
So, let me see if I understand this correctly. Was it just a general, like just a boys' school?
Hmm.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
that's really interesting.
Yeah, Regis Jesuit High School. You can still look it up today.
Okay, so it sounds like the culture that was around there was more around like we're all here. We have a common thing. We're all boys, and we're all gonna help each other and learn together at the same time.
Yeah, it was a private school, so
Yeah.
you were there because you wanted to be there.
Okay.
It
And so
was
you wanted to be there.
absolutely.
Okay.
I consider myself above average intelligence, and public school was not doing a thing for me. It wasn't motivating me. Yes, I was learning, but I was nowhere near where I needed to be, like challenged wise.
Mm.
So Regis was an opportunity, and studied my butt off, took the entrance exam, got in, and then away we went.
Okay, so you understood this at a so did you go to a public school before that
So up
or
through
no?
fourth grade, I went to public school, and
Okay.
then it was parochial school over in Boulder through junior high, and then I had an option to go to that would have been Centaurus. Golly, I'm trying to do math in my head. That's a lot of zeros I'm having to but that was the nearest public school. So I would have had that opportunity. And it would be similar to most public schools here, where it's a huge school, and that I don't think I would have done very well there. I would have gotten through it, but it didn't really help develop anything.
So did you understand this, that you like this was too easy for you? Did you understand that, or did who was the first one to spot it out? Was it you, or was it a teacher or your parents?
It was
Um,
definitely me taking that step that
okay.
I wanted I wanted a little bit more, and I knew that public school wasn't going to be my thing. Sorry, I realized suddenly I couldn't turn my head to the left. Um, and then you go through the inventory of it. Well, is it my neck? Is it broken? Nope, that still works. No, it's a cord. Ah, solved. But no, I just wanted more. And I'm sure I could have done the honors program and all that, but that's not really what I wanted. I needed more.
Who inspired you at the time?
Fantastic question. I mean, because you're what, 14?
Yeah.
That's a long time ago. I really don't know. I mean, I think it was just, my dad working his tail off all the time, and he was a smart person, so I
How
knew
was your
that
relationship with your father at the time, since you just mentioned he was working? How was your relationship with him, or how close was it at the time?
he was there at every
Very
ball
close?
game, every practice, all that. He was
Wow.
the one who taught me how to turn a wrench. It was wonderful. I had no complaints there. I had my moments of, I wouldn't have done that, and then yeah, I know, but
Okay.
it was wonderful. I mean, no
Yeah.
complaints.
Yeah, yeah. So it sounds like maybe your dad had something to do there. He inspired you.
Yeah, I mean, my dad and I, we've always been really close. I mean, and I'm not making this up. We actually went for an eye exam, and they take the picture of the back of your eye. The doctor actually put his picture and my picture side by side, and then asked us to tell which one was which. Couldn't do it. They were almost identical. So yeah,
Wow.
there's no questioning who my father is.
This-
Um, but even my grandfather and my mom, I mean, they're all. It's all part of the same thing.
mm.
I tend to observe, and I'll pick up on things. It's like, oh, that's interesting. How does and then you just incorporate it.
So you're a kid and you start realizing that you have more potential, and who do you go to first as a child?
In which situation?
When you were in public school, that you start feeling that maybe you could do more, and that you're ready for maybe a better, bigger challenge for yourself. Who do you go to first? Like I wonder, like, as a child, or and you're having these thoughts that are very advanced. I mean, it's not like any regular child saying, "Hey, put me in a more challenging environment." Right? So, who do you go to first, if you can remember? If
Yeah,
not, of course.
and that is many many moons back. But I'd also give my parents some credit too. That you got to pay attention to that little thing. Let's see how they're doing. Are they getting their schoolwork done? God, they're knocking it out of the park. I mean, this is not a challenge. You also have to challenge your kid. I mean, because
Mm,
nobody wants a kid that's right down the middle. Nobody's looking for that. You want them to excel, so you have to push them. You have to challenge them. I mean, as people, we're inherently lazy, which probably will be the title of one of my books here soon. So, how do you keep pushing folks to continue to drive and do better
mhm.
and, frankly, be more?
Yeah. So, what did you see? It sounds like your support system, your family was a huge part. Maybe having that safe environment, and that just optimistic, working
Yeah.
environment. Okay. So so you're in high school, and you're learning all these things. What was one of the most memorable, let's say, like, lessons you learned in high school?
How large is
That
your
that that
audience
helps
and
you
who
still
might actually be
today.
listening? Because
Well, you never know.
so we're going to go with the other story then. Uh, really, I had a great set of friends. Tim, Sterling, and I mean, folks refer to us as the Three Musketeers. Where you found one, you found the other two. But that wasn't always bad, because we all had different things that we brought to the table.
Mm.
Sterling's family was very similar to mine in that, everybody was still married. He had brothers, da da da. My family was a little bit larger. My mom didn't work, so dad was always at work. Tim's parents were separated. He lived, a couple, and we all lived about 30 miles from each other. And literally school was 35, 40 miles from home. So no matter what, we had to commute every day to get to school. Plus, it was ran by Jesuit priests, so there was no excuses. I mean, they'd check in and then know if you were lying. So we would always just support each other, and we had different things that we brought to the table. And yeah, in high school, you have the commonalities. Yeah, we all like cars, and we always, yes, we liked girls, but we we had more fun going out to the drag strip, and that was just a lot of fun.
Mhm.
And again, I'll keep all the conversations rated G, but yeah, we got into some trouble. We may have moved some traffic cones around on one of the local interstates, diverted traffic, but they should have had cameras and police officers watching. So that isn't our fault.
Right. You just showed there's room for improvement there for them.
Right. They had a process gap and we highlighted it, and we may
Yes.
have put traffic into a loop. So once you entered, yeah.
That's funny. Okay, so when did you know that finance was going to be the route you were going to take after high school?
I've always been fascinated with mathematics. Fascinated with it. Finance is just math with money.
Mm,
There's no difference in the two. The strategies and who cares?
mm.
How did you get to the number? Where do you expect the number to go? That's algebra. That's calculus. That's sine waves and trying to look at patterns that may not even be there. I've always just been fascinated with that. Even when I graduated high school, I'd taken all the whatever classes or AP classes. I don't know what the term is today. That they're expensive. I walked into college and I already had 2 years worth of mathematics taken care of. And even with that, the college that I went to was also attached to the high school.
Mm.
So there were several of us who graduated from Regis High School, went to Regis University. So the same guys are still in the same classes. So again, you have this camaraderie. We're already at the same knowledge level. So for us to go one more and go, okay, how do we take this from practical and now we're going to go study theoretical? Oh, okay. And again,
Interesting.
that's where it kind of started was, oh, that's cool. I can do that and da da da. And then you hit the point of, well, I don't want to be an engineer. I didn't want to teach.
Mm.
What else could I do? Oh, I'm going to finance. Oh yeah, every company needs that. Okay, that's what I'll do. I mean, I wish it was deeper than that, but that was
Yeah, no,
literally the
that's
decision.
that's very impressive because you came up with that, and it's still. I mean, you're still kind of following. uh, Well, you're at a different level now, but it just that's kind of where it stemmed
Mhm.
from, and it's still true today.
It's problem solving. That's all it really is. You,
Yeah.
you put a little bit of science to
Mm.
it. Actually, Charlie Bryce, Dr. Bryce, he was first semester advanced calc at Regis. This is the man who would, when he was in the 60s, he was actually helping NASA design satellite docking problems and all this. But he had commented time and again that mathematics was considered the highest form of art. And to a degree, that's true. So I just wanted to be as artistic as I could with money, but legally, legally.
Okay, that's a very interesting way to see it, like the perspective of combining like numbers, finance, and then how it'll translate out in the real world,
Hmm.
essentially. Um,
Yeah, anybody can get a spreadsheet to do whatever they want. That's really not that hard. How do you execute it? That's when it
mm,
gets really hard
the
because
how
now,
to.
right now, you start getting into the other half of our conversation on leadership. How do you go motivate 1,000 people to go generate money that they'll never see?
Mm. It's really interesting. You mentioned like you talk to people of like the how. I've been listening to Simon Sinek, and
Hmm.
he talks about how there's the visionaries and then there's the doers. And really like the magic is when there's like partnership, every big thing that's happened, it like one person didn't build it alone. So there's the visionary and then there's the how to, there's the doers. And when those two come together because they have different ways of thinking, when they come together, that's when like big things happened. So as you mentioned like the how, like I see that it's so true because a lot of people have a vision, have an idea, have this dream of what they want the future to look like in some sense, whether it's like selfish or it's bigger than them.
Hmm.
And then there's the people that are very good at figuring out how to do that and put that in terms where then well that's where like the magic is, right, where it expands and it grows and people like adopt the idea and then they just and maybe many people can work on different things but they're all working together for the same idea. And so that how, I think that has a lot to do with like what you do, it sounds like, because you
There's a
help people
lot to
figure
do
out
with it.
like how. They have an idea. The hard part is, okay, how are we gonna execute that? Okay, wow, that's just really interesting. Um, that you said that.
It's easier to say than it is to do,
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, you still have to outline the plan.
Mhm.
Because there's always the naysayers. There's always the folks, oh, that's going to be really hard. Yep, but we're all in this together. So you can sit over there and complain about it, or we can just get to it. Once folks get to accepting, and everybody accepts it at different rates.
Mm.
There are, I'll call them the party people, where, cool, somebody said, let's do that. Well, I don't see why not. Let's get, and they help rally the rest of the team. Now, folks like myself, I need a minute. I need to ingest it. I need to think through this. I
Mm.
understand you just put the flag at the top of the mountain, and now I have to go figure out in my head, how am I going to do that? I don't disagree that that's the wrong path, but God, that is really way up there.
Mm.
So I need a little bit of time to process it. Then once I've figured it out, heck yeah, I'm your biggest ally now. I will not deviate from that path. That is the correct path. But
Mm.
all these little steps in between are just tasks. And then we have some other folks that shoot, they're the doers. And I don't mean that in a condescending way. Because if we needed to carry 500 balloons to the top of the mountain, well, if we have 10 people, everybody got to carry 50 balloons. They'll grab their pack of 50 and off we go. But they also know the best way to get there.
Mm.
Cool. So that's where folks can start to rally, and then we have the folks who have to set that direction.
Mm. Mm.
You can leader or quote it or whatever you want to call them. The folks that went, that's where it is.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
that's the challenge,
Yeah.
the
And
mountain, yeah.
and Simon's a great guy for highlighting the level of trust that
Mm.
leaders have to build with their people. The moment that begins to fracture, it's almost stop, rebuild that, then go. Because if you continue to ignore that cancer, that fracture will just continue to grow,
Mhm.
even if it's just one person on the team, because somehow, and it may just be a legitimate reason, they don't buy in. So they're trying to let everybody else know that there's a problem coming, good or bad, and maybe they're trying to be productive and let everybody know that, guys, in about 3 weeks we're going to have that's and they're trying to do that, but it can also be perceived as naysaying or you're just being disruptive to the team, but it may be completely honest that you're trying to help. So good leaders will recognize that and surround themselves with smart people, which honestly, that's how I've always tried to be is let's go find a really good and diverse group of smart people and put that together. Then all we have to do is decide which task are we going after and we go do
Wow.
it.
That sounds like so simplistic, but so amazing, it makes so much
It's
sense.
hard. It's really hard,
Yeah.
um, because it takes time.
Mm.
You have to really get to know somebody. And this is a challenging thing. Customers I work with, I get plopped in and they're looking for an answer.
Mm,
I mean, there's a contract, time is ticking, they're paying money. It's expensive,
yes.
or can be perceived as expensive, because my time's valuable too. Whereas these are owners that are probably already in some sort of pain, whether they're not
Mm,
growing the way they want to, or their back's against the wall with cash flow or whatever, it doesn't matter. And they're looking for you to solve it. Well, I can't just come in and go, well, here's your answer.
right.
It may be the right answer. It usually is. But I can't just plop that on the table and go, well, go fix it. It doesn't work that way.
So, reading about you, I found it really impressive again that when you talk to people you're coaching and you're helping, you help them figure out their why, or you try to, look for that. So, how often when you talk to business leader, business owners, how often do you find that they can clearly articulate their why? How
It
often?
hasn't happened yet.
Stop.
The reason I say that, it's forest for the trees, right? You're
Yes.
stuck. You're literally almost in panic mode because you don't know how to continue to grow, or you've had something happen and you're just stuck. You don't know how to expand. You don't know how to acquire capital. You don't know how to train your people. So now you've hit that point of, oh crap, what do you do?
Mm.
Being able to describe, and I'm going to pick on a customer unfairly, but if I was to ask them to describe what it is that they do, nope.
So if this is the owners that are driving this, what they do, then, how do they expect for their personnel to work to the best of their ability if they don't know what they're working for? They're just, they're there because they know what to do to take care of their families.
Yeah. And a lot of these folks grew up
Interesting.
in whatever company that they're working in today, which is fine.
Hmm.
If you grew up being a plumber, awesome, fantastic. We need you.
Hmm.
If that's all you've ever known though, when you have to hire your second or third plumber in order to continue to grow your business, how do you convey to them how you're different?
Right.
What is the service that you provide that's so much different than your competition? Or flip that, it's time to hire that person. Why should I come work for you? What, you pay more? Okay, I could work a little harder and make a little more money on my own. I don't, that doesn't translate, so kind of going back to culture, why that is so critical to a company. Most companies really don't have a deep culture. They like to talk about, we're family oriented. Da, da, da. Are you? Are you really?
Right.
And I have found that the concept is often more different than the reality versus, one of our exercises, we sit there and we go through what your 30-second commercial is. How do you introduce yourself? It's you've got 30 seconds. How do you get somebody to go, I need to find a way to get on Myra's calendar. How do I do that? That was
Mhm.
interesting. Whatever was that you had said, that was interesting. I want to learn more about that. You got 30 seconds to do that. I
Mhm.
mean, in this age, and even all these blinky lights around us, easily distracted. I
Right.
forget what the average person's attention span is, and it's gotten worse with social media nowadays. I think I saw a study in 22 that it was roughly 3 hours per day people spend looking at social media. Well, if you're trying to get someone's business for the first time, that's what you're competing with. How do you do that? You've got to be really honed, really sharp. You got to really know what your culture and your product is and what you're trying to do. Otherwise, everybody's like, oh, you're a realtor, like every other person on the corner. Next. That's
Right.
hard. That's really
Right.
hard to do. And the product itself doesn't matter. It's the why should I think of you when I need a realtor?
Right. Yes. Simon says, uh,
Yeah, I got
peop
the joke too.
it says people don't buy what you have. What you sell, they buy why you
Mhm.
do it. So I thought that's
Yeah, know,
very,
like, and trust. That's why people buy from you. They
yeah.
know you, they like you, and they trust you.
Definitely. I mean, that makes sense, but like you said, it's so hard because it's like you can start with a blank slate with anyone, and trust is something that just builds with time, kind of like credit. So you
Hmm.
either maintain a good credit, you say what you're going to do with the people that you talk to, and then trust starts building. But the moment you can do 100 things, but the moment you do one thing that just proves you dishonest, that it just kind of breaks everything. And so that's very interesting because it's so true. And then to regain that trust, it's so hard. And I think it's kind of similar with either your own family, or and then you see that also like out in the business world. So how when you're working with someone and you kind of sense that maybe like trust, there's an issue with like trust, or maybe the environment, maybe it's an environment where maybe people aren't inspired to work and thrive and do the best they can while they're there. Where do you usually start with something like that when you're coaching?
Yeah, so I'll take two steps back and then
Okay.
one to the left and then one backwards. Yeah, that's correct. So I do want to highlight though, let's say we're working together and it gets sideways. I do want to highlight though, if you really had a good relationship with this person, we're both people and things break and things get sideways. How you recover from that can actually build the relationship even stronger.
Oh.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that, and I'm picking on, somebody does an oil change on the car, which why I would have anyone do an oil change other than me on my car is irrelevant, but stick with me. Let's say they forgot to do something. Maybe they didn't top off the washer fluid, whatever, doesn't matter. So you come back and you're all super mad, whatever. So, okay, well, I'll give you 4 brand new tires. Okay, fine, but that's not the issue. You know,
Mm.
I would like to better understand how you're going to make sure that this won't happen with another customer, much less with myself. Yes, I know you're going to credit something. I got all that. The act of crediting off, that's irrelevant. I want to know how you're going to repair this. Why should I come back? Now that's two-sided because I have to be open enough to say, I want to accept their resolution or work with them to get to a resolution. And then flip that, you've got to go deliver it.
Mm.
So it can't be, oh, well, we'll get you 50% off for the next 5 years. Well, great, that benefits me, but it doesn't benefit you because that means you're going to lose money every time I see. Well, that's now I'm taking advantage. It has to be balanced and equal. And
Mhm.
again, it takes a level of maturity that if you really want to continue that relationship, you're going to have to work with the person that may have wronged because we're all still people. I still find it interesting that folks want to yell at companies. There's still people working at those companies. It's it happens. It's okay. Now, it's also okay to ask for someone else within that organization because maybe this person isn't able to fix your problem. Maybe you, as the consumer, are not describing it well enough. Maybe they're not empowered, which put a pin on that. We're coming back to it. Maybe they're not empowered to actually do anything. And it's so much easier just to get you off the phone. Well, if you'll send an email over to our executive team, then we'll take care of it then. Really? All you told me was, I'm done talking to you. Send this over here and they'll get back to you at some point. Okay, well, my problem is right now. And you may not perceive it as a 911, but it's incredibly urgent to me. I took the time to call. So, again, going back to all of this
Mm.
relationship stuff, it's the exact same thing with employees. If somebody has an issue or you see a pattern that has changed, there's something going on. I always liken it back to a situation many, many moons ago. We had a young lady who just could not make it in at 8 a.m., just could not make her shift at 8 a.m. Okay, well, instead of just walking into the meeting and writing this person up for the first time, you just sit down. Your shift starts at 8, right? Why can't we get here at 8? I mean, again, there's nothing on this table, there's nothing on that table. Just help me understand. Well, then you realize, oh, well, they had to take their kid to daycare. Their mom was taking them. They had to wait, and they only had one car. Da, da, da. You realize all this other stuff, and you go, oh, this is just silly. I'm not going to write you up for that. Why don't we either would another 15 minutes work? Could you get here by 8:15 or 8:30? Or what do we need to do to help you reevaluate your morning so that you can make it here by 8? If the schedule wasn't adjustable. It's if you've got a good employee, you'll figure it out. And I'm not saying you can be 100% flexible with everybody. There's still boundaries, which again takes both parties. But just the act of sitting down with this person trying to figure it out, that meant a lot to them. And
Mhm.
they were amazing on the phone. They really genuinely tried to take care of their customers. So of course we wanted to try and help. And then you're going, I'm about to get really grumpy over 15 minutes.
Mm.
Is that burning down the universe? No. Let's take a look at what our other options are.
That what you just said, I think, like, that is so crucial, especially, like, nowadays with everybody having to or, like, a lot of households, they both have to work, and so then, you mentioned daycare, sometimes people are living their daily things, and you just showed, like, compassion, like, that all those actions lead to compassion, and I think you're right. I think, like, if there's more compassion, you can kinda take a step back and kind of like that, like, just take a breather and say, "Okay, well, before I make any rash movement or anything based off things I don't know, why don't I get to understand the situation better?" So then that brings a question like, build how do you nurture or start building compassion in leaders so that they can maybe be ask questions that can be more productive for them and for the person that's, having some sort of difficulty. Like, how do you think as a leader, how do we help people understand or be compassionate about others and not make it so much about them and what they're losing and, their time and them versus, okay, how can I help this person? And once that problem is fixed, then, the machine keeps working like it should.
Fantastic question. I'm going to unpack that very, very slowly because this is a very good point. Not everyone is a leader,
Mm.
and there's nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
I've had the opportunity in my career to work with some amazing people, and I've had the opportunity to work with some folks that I will never work with the rest of my natural life.
Mhm.
If I was suddenly transferred to their team, here's my notice that I won't be in tomorrow. But that's also not bad because patterns have shown that the person who's been on the team the longest becomes the team lead. Then, when there's a supervisor job, they're the next one up to be the supervisor. And oh, wait, you've been the supervisor the longest, and now you're the department manager. Oh, well, you've been the department manager, now you're the director.
Mhm.
You may not be ready for all of that. And and I say that very tongue in cheek, but it's also so true because employers are lazy. This is the person that knows the job, so they'll be able to supervise the job and da da da. That's great on an assembly line, but go watch robots. Seriously, don't manage people because that won't work. This is
Mhm.
not someone who's really trying to improve the team, much less help their folks. It's not going to work. It does at times, but it's more often than not that, well, they're the next senior one. They should get why? That makes no
Mhm.
sense to me. And I know that's like a big paradigm shift, but that's not the right way to do things. Because, and this is going to be editorial, put the big brackets, air quotes, whatever you want to call it, that this person probably has developed some bad habits over that many years. Hmm. Do I really want to propagate all of those different challenges? All right, so then let's say I've got a manager who's been there the longest. They're looking for a director role. I get hired from the outside to be their director because maybe I've done all of this stuff and ran even bigger blah, blah, blahs. I was the right candidate for the role. Well, now I have a manager who thinks that they know more. Well,
Mhm.
you might know the tasks more, but you don't know the vision and the strategy more than I do. So now I have to realize I have to spend a lot of time getting them on my side. So, to your question on leadership and how that culture fits in, that's how I would identify that. And I'll call it, I've got a pretty good sniffer. You could meet somebody and go, they've got something. I'm going to learn more about them. That's interesting to me. Versus yeah, they'll be here till Friday. I, I mean, it
Yeah.
sounds cold, but you get the folks that are just fogging a mirror because they want to check, but their heart's not in it. Hey, and that's great. I need folks like that. Again, the folks that'll help carry the balloons up the mountain, absolutely need them on the team. But I'm not going to have them as my next leadership crew. And you're always looking for your replacement. Um,
Mm.
that sounds crazy, but if you're not training your replacement, you're unreplaceable because to the organization, you're the only one that can do this job. Uh-oh, I can't get promoted. That's a problem. So you
Yes.
end up where really good leaders end up being cornered over in a spot where they're ready for something more, but they never trained their replacement. So for the organization,
Mhm.
that's a gap. Well, if Andy left or took another role, we're going to have this learning curve gap. Well, if I'm really doing my job, I've already got 3 or 4 people lined up that are ready to take that next step.
Wow, I just got the chills because I think that
I
is
think it was
so
just the air
true.
conditioning came on. Don't worry about it.
That is that makes so
You've
much
seen it time and
sense.
again too.
Yes, yes, and, as you say that, especially thinking and, well, really thinking about it in any really life scenario, even as a parent, once I read, like, you don't find leaders or you don't make leaders, you find leaders.
Hmm.
As we're sitting this, I guess this is coming to my head, and it makes sense because if somebody's in the wrong role, doesn't mean that they're not good at anything. It just means that maybe that's not their why, like that's not what they're passionate about. But if they were to go to a different department that fits more to their personal why, then they're more likely to exceed.
Hmm.
And so, finding, I guess, and I focus this on leaders and leadership because uh, I feel like nowadays thinking or making a choice has become a lot more challenging for people. Even me as a realtor, when I work with adults,
Well, again, let's put big air quotes around adults looking for houses.
well, I mean,
Yeah.
like any range really. I'm really
Hmm.
surprised by how different people, different walks, different ages, it's like they can't make a choice. And I found that really interesting. And it's like, okay, maybe we are so saturated with information. You mentioned earlier, social media, being a thing or distractor. Well, I'm saying that now, but it is, right? So I wonder if that has anything to do with the ability to make choices and you know what I mean, to make choices because they like thinking things through.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's really interesting. I want to take it back to when you were in high school because how readily available was the internet back then?
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
So, Myra, Al Gore hadn't completely invented the internet yet when I was in high school. In fact, computers are brand new. We just had to take 2 stones and kind of chat them together to see what. Oh, sparklies. Oh, that's television. No, honestly, I was blessed to go to the school that I was at, but the internet wasn't really a thing. We had just started getting into some computer sciences and things like that. We did have a computer lab. The computers were networked together, and you could do some stuff, but you had a research paper. You're going to the library. You had to go read several books when you're looking for that one sentence quote. So good, bad. Do I think AI and all this is a problem? It depends on how you use it. If you're going to use it to write all your doctorate papers, okay, really, that you're not any smarter. There is that element that still has to be done by a person, but the distractions were all still there. They just weren't. I need to learn about penguins, and then you tap on your phone. Now I know everything about penguins. That required a little bit more work, but you still had to have a bit of give a darn to go and want to do something.
The reason I ask is because earlier you mentioned
Really? Was the
habits.
internet invented? Really?
No, I said,
Really?
was it a thing? Was it readily available? Like, was that something you had at home to, to do things? I was curious. I didn't want to assume. And the reason I asked is because earlier you mentioned about like habits,
Yeah.
and so when you're in your era when you were in high school.
Era? Now it's an era?
Well,
Yep. Now the other feeling is hurt.
so you didn't
I need a minute. You're good.
You had to have certain habits to accomplish, you know even like the environment you were in. Like you mentioned, you studied this. It was not easy, I'm sure, because it's above average. um and so what kind of habits did you develop that kind of propelled you forward or helped you get through school, and then and so forth?
You're absolutely going to love my new priority management book I'm working on. But honestly, you got to figure out your routine. I had it in my
Mm.
head that if I wanted to go out and play, i.e., work on the car, and I'm picking on high school, if I wanted to go do that afterwards, after school, I need to get all my studies done.
Wow.
It's just how it had to be. Plus, it was also a college prep school, so if you wanted to continue to stay at the school, you had to continue to get good grades. That's how it was. So there was just a group of us that's what we just did. I mean, at lunchtime, if we had homework or something that we needed to do, even for the next day, we would just do it then. It was easier to do it as a group versus try to figure it out on your own. Because believe it or not, even though telephones had already been invented, we didn't necessarily have one in every room of the house. They actually used to have cords on them. And it wasn't until high school when we got our first cordless phone with a battery life about 10 seconds long. So again, it was easier for us to do it together at school while we were
Mm.
all there, or even stick around afterwards. Again, you're hanging around a Jesuit high school. I mean, you're not going to get it. Well, yeah, you could get into trouble. My point being that it was a safe environment.
Mm.
They made sure that either the professors or the priests, they were available if we needed help, or if we were trying to study it and just weren't getting it. That's just how it worked for us. So I guess the moral to the story is you got to figure it out. If you're waiting for somebody else to be able to drive your life, they'll drive it, but you're not going to like it.
Mm.
So frankly, put on your
Yeah.
grown-up pants and go own it. I mean,
So build a routine where, God, like that's to me, like that's really impressive.
it's not rocket surgery. I mean, we all do it. We all know we have to get up, we have to brush our teeth, we have to get a shower. This is just, I know I need to do this and this and this. And then you're right. Oh, wait, there's that funny cat video. Well, I'm going to go give up something else I should be doing to go watch this. Neither one is right.
Mm.
You have to figure that out.
Neither one is right. I like that. You have to figure it out.
Or I guess I could put the positive spin. Neither one is wrong.
Okay. So you mentioned right after that you go to college, then your parents moved to Texas.
Yes.
And
And I moved down here for 1 year, and then they left me all alone.
so you move down here, and how quickly do you adapt here to Texas in
I don't know if
comparison?
I have.
Oh.
So high school buddies and all that, we still keep up. And I am referred to as the Texan who actually can still ski. So I do enjoy cold weather. I
Mm.
really do. When it's August here and it's 1,000 degrees, I am not happy. So do you ever really adapt?
Mm.
No. But you just, again, you put on your adult hat and go, you know what? The kids have a soccer game. Let's go. I know it's going to be hot. I know. It's going to be okay. It's 2.5 hours. It'll be fine. and I can go home and I'll be in my happy place. So, again, we have a place in the mountains where I can go and go skiing, go mountain biking, do all that. My parents still live up in Denver, high school buddies, even have a couple high school buddies down here in Dallas now.
Mm.
So, yeah, yes,
I see what
all,
you're doing.
all according to plan. I mean, you find a good support group and just breathe.
Yes. Did you know you were like your what you wanted to do at the time? Like did you know the career path that you wanted to take? I mean, I know you chose finance. Did you like see a future past like your graduation date or where you wanted to go
So
or any goals?
I actually had lucked out when I was. Are we allowed to mention company names?
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
didn't sign a disclaimer.
Okay, yeah. You can say whatever you want here.
That's terrifying
It's true.
because I'm going to be hearing it for the first time too. Anyways, when I was at Brinks, again, surrounded by really, really good, smart, awesome people. Um, when I was going to college, very supportive. If I had a class, I tried to take them either in the evenings or weekends as possible. But sometimes there's only one class and it's at 11 o'clock and you have to take it. So I was given the ability to be able to go do that. Now I'd have to make up my time and all that, but again, flexibility and all that. So somebody saw something in me to go, maybe he's got, all right, his last name's cool and that'll be fun. And at that time, I was also working on a couple different projects. This was in the accounting and finance world. And as I got closer to graduation, and again, the culture there was one of the best I've ever seen in my entire life. Definitely, when we hear the term, family oriented culture, no, this was to the point where the CEO would know your dog, really took the time to walk the floor, get to know the people, and vice versa. We got to know them as well. So as I was getting closer to graduation, I wandered up to our CFO's office and quick tap on the door and went, "Hey, I don't know how to ask this question, but in about 2 months, I'm gonna have the fancy piece of paper. Can I come sit up here now?" And he was already paying attention and he already knew, and he was like, "Yeah, we know. So
Mm.
we got it." So again, there was trust there, but I needed to confirm it as well. I didn't expect to get my piece of paper and everybody walked down and now I'm being, paraded upstairs. That's not right either. Now, flip side being I had a lot to bring to the table. Yes, I was fresh out of college, so I thought I was smart, but I also had several years worth of, finance type stuff in the accounts receivable world, how accounts flowed and signaling and all that stuff. So I already understood all that stuff. Now I just got to do it bigger. And how I was able to connect enough dots either through spreadsheets or talking with folks so that you can actually begin to model that out. Now you're getting into true finance stuff and cash flow and profitability and working with departments. That's kind of where it started. Did I set off when I graduated going, I'm going to have that job and that's what I'm going to do? No, because I'm supposed to be in Hawaii driving a red sports car with my friend who flies a helicopter solving crimes. You never know. And
Yeah.
even with that experience, got to learn from some really smart people. So literally right out of college, I'm working with treasury services and I'm working with marketing operations. I'm literally working with the SVs, in the C-suite, and they're teaching you and they're showing you here's another piece you don't know about yet. Here's how it works. Now, you gotta go figure out how to connect that. Okay, and then you kind of squirry back to your desk and all right, I got to figure this out, And then my first task there was to come up with the template for the individual branch budgets. So there were 125 plus branches. Each one had 3 lines of business in it. Plus we had a dealer network. I mean, there were a lot of moving parts. And the edict was we also wanted to do cash flow and operations and sales on the same spreadsheet. Well, I understood one of those words. I had no idea how to go do that.
Mm.
So in order for us to go on our vacation, I had to go figure it out before I could go. So there's my motivation.
Mm.
Ah, take my wife to Mexico so we can have fun. Oh, actually, that was Jamaica, that one. That one was Jamaica. Yeah, man. Um, I had to go figure out the budgets before I could go. So highly motivated, figured it out, and that was actually what became the template for the bottom up approach to the budget.
Wow.
Now flip that the year later because I guess they didn't think that was challenging enough. Hey, go do the opposite. Go build the corporate plan. Okay,
Wow.
so went the other way with it. The art became how do you make those two talk?
Mm.
Because there's all of that stuff. Well, all of that stuff together translates over into the customer side. So you acquired it, there's money, cost center, da da da. Now, how do I go run it?
Oh.
Okay. Spent the next 2 years figuring that stuff up, understanding how departments were, how did HR impact this and IT, how did all that connect? And then I still haven't figured that out, by the way. But I at least understood the levers in their budgets and how do you know when you need another person? How do you add another role? How do you pay for all that? Um,
Mm.
IT capital expenditures. IT is expensive. It doesn't matter back then, right now, it's expensive. Well, how do you determine when it's time to buy another bank of servers or outsource it? Either way, you're writing a check.
Yeah, those are big, big questions.
It was lots of zeros. And then I was offered a role over in customer operations, which, if I had to do one of those, that was one of those mind change moments.
How
Of
so?
so now I was beginning to be exposed to customer retention,
Oh.
and that was that is fascinating to me. So again, the leader at the time, um, she kind of went, "Yeah, you're good with numbers and stuff, and you like to model things. Here, go model that." Go understand why customers are retreating. She understood, why retention was so important because the millions of dollars and blah 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 blah. But at the same time, the organization was focused on reducing churn. We were striving to get to 1 million customers as quickly as we could. That's the easiest lever to pull. I mean, if you keep sell, you're never going to actually get there because what's
Mm.
falling out falls out faster than what you can put it in the top. So we did a bunch of fancy math and got some smart people in a room, and you never completely crack the code, but we found some really good nuggets that actually help move it.
Wow. Yeah, that's okay. So is that when you start focusing on like the customer experience,
Hmm.
or was that already something that is that when it kind of
Yeah,
starts? How much in love did you fall with that?
I was in.
Yeah.
I was fascinated with just the psychology of it, but there's also the metric side, the modeling side of it, looking for indicators, and then you can actually start applying finance practices to it. Lifetime value, and okay, if I gave you another widget for free, what is the probability that would extend your tenure with all of this can be modeled out. I was in. Yep, that's where I wanted to play. In fact,
That's
I
really
had a
cool.
discussion with the young lady who hired me for that role here recently, and she had mentioned that we were doing this stuff before it was a thing, and it was like, yeah, we were, and we were really good at it. Now, would it work today? Maybe, but you almost have to take the numbers and the spreadsheets out of the boardroom. You almost have to just ask yourself, is it the right thing to do?
Mm.
Yes. Okay, then we need to go do that. Whether it's company culture or whatever it is. I mean, there is price and cost, and I got it. But if you're going to sit there and debate a spreadsheet for 4 hours on what the right thing to do is, if the number's positive, go do it. It's not really that hard. Again, this is miles on an odometer down the road going, it's too easy for folks to want to quantify things that may not necessarily need to be quantified.
Mm.
If you can spend months trying to analyze a situation only to get to the same conclusion and go, yeah, we just need to do that. Don't overthink it.
Don't overthink it. That's
which is easy for me because I ain't that smart.
you crack me up. So, you mentioned you met your wife here
Yes,
in
that's why we're married.
Texas.
Yes, I did meet her.
Yes. Was that here in Texas?
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
Dillard's, Vista Ridge Mall of all places.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, tell me how did you like, what was the first impression? What was the when did you when did you see her first, and what did you think of her, or how did it happen?
I have no comment, Your Honor. No, really. So I was actually working up in the customer service area, but I was there to count the money in for all the transactions. So this is back before the internet when it was still 2 stone tablets. Well, every transaction had to be audited, right? Yeah, and it was literally on the tape machines, and there was some computer stuff, but it was very rudimentary at the time. She was hired to do seasonal gift wrap, but she was also studying accounting at the same school. So, okay, there's a connection. We went and hung out, and for my birthday, she took me to an AC/DC concert. And then you go, yeah, yeah, that's the one.
And that's where you lost it all. That's what I meant, like.
All of my money, yes.
I meant the feelings. That's where she took your heart right there, didn't she?
Yes.
Yes. That's, oh, that's I say that I didn't know the story really, but you've always talked like so highly of your wife. And she's
Logan, next
always.
question on the prompter, please. No, I mean, she's absolutely the right person. Absolutely, without question.
What did you see in her? Did you know the qualities already you were looking for in, say, the partner you were gonna see? Did you know what you were looking for before you met her?
No,
No.
no. I had already picked out the next car I wanted. Honestly, I wasn't even
Yeah.
thinking about it. I mean,
Oh.
seriously, it was, you're in college. I mean, there are way more important things to do than trying to figure out, well, who am I going to marry now? Well, go have fun. I mean,
Mm.
don't overthink it. Just, again, go have fun. That's really where it was. And we started hanging out and well, there you are.
What qualities did you see in her that just kind of helped just know that she was the one?
So pretty.
So-
She was smart. She was motivated. She
Mhm.
was studying accounting, and I don't like accounting. I genuinely, it hurts my brain to try and figure out, well, does this go in this account, or this account, and this, and depreciate? Yes, I can do it, but it is not my thing. I'm more interested in, okay, this has been entered. Where's that going?
Mm.
Where are we headed with that?
Mhm.
Because that I can have an outcome of. And I can, and I'm not trying to downplay accounting. It's a very important role, mainly because people may be watching. Um, it's in the past, and that's
Mm.
great. And we have to know where we are up until now. But I'm personally more interested where we're going to be in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and that's really where I help my customers. More often than not, they'll send me their log into their accounting system or whatever, and want me to go take a look. And it's like, A, never just send somebody your log into your bank accounts. Don't do that. But secondly, I don't have the story behind it, so it doesn't really matter to me. If you need me to analyze your financials, absolutely, I can do it all day long. You're not going to like the answer. I don't know another way to describe it because I'm going to find stuff, but it's always 2 years back, a year back. I'm more interested in, your revenue line is flat. What are you going to do to change that?
Mm.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess get more sales. Well, yes, that's one way. Could you increase pricing? Could you lower your margins or increase your margins by lowering your support costs? I mean, 1,000 different ways to think about it.
Mhm.
Either way, it's more cash in the till.
Yes.
So back to your original question, it was Christmas time, so it was really easy to get Christmas presents when you just start dating because there you are.
Okay.
You already had the Christmas music going. It was there's lots of excitement. This is back when malls were a thing.
I see.
So
So,
Myra, we actually had to go to stores when we needed things. Yeah,
really?
you couldn't just tap your phone and then poof, there's a pizza. No, you actually had to go there.
I see. Very interesting. Very interesting. I can't believe you guys had to go.
I know. I know.
Okay, so was when you were like right before getting this job at Brinks, that first one, that kind of where you learned a lot, it seems like. Um was there any particular person you looked up to and why? Or that
There were
inspired
several
you?
people that were taller than
Okay.
I am.
Oh.
There's just a lot. There's several folks.
Was there anyone that stood out?
Yes and no. I
Mm.
mean, my dad always, pushed along, and mom was always supportive for what I was doing. But at some point, you kind of have to be an adult. You kind of have to own it. And you got to take a step and go, yeah, this makes sense, and take a risk.
Or anyone there at the job itself where you're like, I want to learn from this person? No?
Yeah, yes and no. Again, my cousin actually got me the job at Brinks. So, again, back when, smoke was a way to communicate, you had to, anyways, you couldn't just call them. Networking to be able to get a role, still super mega important
Mm.
then. Um, Now, he was over in the customer service side, like taking calls and all that, which that's great. Somebody's got to talk to the customers. I was studying, finance at the time, so my emphasis was money and banking, so I was on the audit side of the world. Um, there were some really smart people there. My first supervisor, Carrie. I mean, I could literally go back through all the people that were there. Then there was Carrie, there was Jim, there was Joni, there was Terry. I mean, bump up the line. Perry, I still keep up with him, even though he left, God, long time ago. Anyway, sorry, I just had that mental note of I should reach out to Perry. He lives over in Flower Mound. I should say hello. He's only about 4 miles from the house. Anyways, so there. Welcome to my brain. It's like this all day.
So how with so much going on, I mean, there's so many details that put this story together. Like the numbers. You mentioned the art and I can see it. It's like you're just getting a bunch of numbers that affect a lot of areas and then you have to basically put it in a way that the rest of the world or the rest of the team
Mhm.
understands, basically, right? And I say basically because I know there's a lot more to that probably. Um, how do you or did you um keep yourself organized and like with the notes and like what to do next, because I feel like a lot of time like okay you have the big goal, you have broken it into steps, but then maybe you just struggle to keep things organized to move faster, or even to just complete it at all. So what is your strategy to being productive, quick and fast? It's still hard for me to really comprehend how open you were to everyone to just, to be there and still get the job done and not just do the job, but do a great job. So, like, how do you keep yourself organized is the question.
The job's not for everybody.
Mm,
Sometimes you just have to. It's more important that person needs to come in right now. I'm gonna have to stick around afterwards, or I'll have to do this at home. There was a lot of behind the curtain work that was done.
mm,
If you remember, every now and then I would grab the laptop and all my papers and go scurry into the office next door. The door would close and I
mhm,
wouldn't come out for an hour.
mhm.
Chances are there was something significant that he needed to be aware of, because I then probably had to go up 2 stories to go talk with the C-suite and go, "Hey guys, problem. I'm not empowered to change it. Help." It's just you do get used to it. It's practice.
Mm.
It's like nothing else. Being able to filter through that, recognize the priorities, and then when it's a non-priority, if somebody just wants to come in and chitter chatter, okay, take a moment.
Mm.
Chances are God put them in your office for a reason, probably because you needed a break, or they did.
Interesting.
But yes, as it comes to the details and all that, it's you get used to it. You really do. You start to be able to prioritize it, and yeah, again, you got to be above average intelligence, just like any role. If you were to ask me to try and go sell a house, nope, nope. I would simply, you need to talk to Myra. That's not me. I don't know how to do that. And this is going to sound cold, but I'm not even interested in it. I would rather show up and go, I'm going to give you money. You'll give me a house. And then we're friends.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not interested in the transaction. And for whatever reason, I'm just not. Just like I find it fascinating how inventory and things like that can be adjusted and accrued, and folks are just, well, to me, that's intriguing. You got to find something that keeps you motivated.
Mm. When did you find, like, what keeps you motivated every day?
Alcohol.
What's the reason that you wake up every day today?
My alarm clock?
Stop. A reason.
There's no comforter on my side. The reason that I get up every day,
Yeah. What?
I get to help people.
Mm.
I look at my calendar and go, that's going to be a good call. I've got a couple customers that I'm working with right now that it's cool to actually watch them go, I get it.
Mm.
And now they're actually making money. Now they're starting to turn that corner. One of my customers, they had the opportunity to literally flip their entire business around. And just to watch, not just, the mechanics of it, but also to step back and go, huh, there's a different way to do this. But then you got to go sell it to the team. How do you go get everybody on board that, hey, we're going to 180 this thing? What? What? Why? What? But it's working. I'm like, no, you're flat. That's not sustainable. That's only a matter of time before somebody else moves on, and then you're going to get run over, and then you're not going to be able to adapt. Everybody is susceptible to having another competitor come in and snag every ounce of it. Got to be ahead of it. How do you do it? You got to continue to adapt and change.
Continue to adapt and change. That is true. That
You're
is
never
true.
done.
That is true. Continue to adapt and change. That's okay. No, this is great.
I mean, the flip side of that is still August 15th of 2037. That's my retirement date.
Oh.
I mean, that's when everything will be funded and we're good until the end. And that really is the end game. The kids' colleges will be taking care of the house, all that stuff. It'll just be handled, which now the cord moved and now attention to detail. So then it just
Yes.
has to be back the way it was. So there's that too. I mean, you got to take care of your family and you have to have that target and all, it's not chauvinism or whatever. It's just making sure that, what my wife and I are working towards and the end date. Yeah. I mean, sure, maybe I'll keep doing this, but I don't want to have to, if that makes sense.
Mm.
There is a difference there between having to go into work and I've got to do this to keep the lights on. Well, that's fine and that's noble, but you really should go find someone in your life who can help move you past that. And yeah, that isn't necessarily meaning that it's going to get handed to you. Just big disclaimer. Don't expect somebody to go, oh, well, here's your next job. And you're going to have to work for it. Maybe it means you do have to hold down 2 jobs. Maybe you might have to hold down a third. That's just the way things are. But if you're working towards an end game, maybe there's a better purpose than just, waiting for someone to hand it to you.
Mm.
Go make your own luck.
Mm. So, as a father, you're the father of 2 boys.
Yes, ma'am.
How did that impact your life, being a father?
So the upside is I had 2 boys, so the learning curve was really, really short because we're really not that smart. And it's like, ooh, Legos, let's play with Legos. Oh, cars, let's play with cars. I mean, that part wasn't very hard, but there was that added weight of I got to make sure they have food. I got to make sure they have a house. I got to make sure they're happy. I've got to teach them this and this and this and this. And then, oh, wait, he's not interested in that. I'm like, no son of mine doesn't want to play baseball. You have to step back and go, your job is to expose them to different things in life, not necessarily make sure that they want to relive yours.
Ooh. Oh my gosh.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm
That's
grateful that my youngest, he and his friends interact very differently than I do. But when you actually watch them together, it absolutely reminds me of high school. They just do it different. I mean,
mm.
those five guys, at some point, a cow will be airborne. And then my oldest, he's totally happy with a wrench in his hand underneath the car. That's perfectly fine for him. That's wonderful. That's kind of where you go. Awesome. They've been exposed to enough. That's fine.
How big did you know, or did you know this? Like your how much impact you would make in their life? Like, how did you ever think about that, and did that change your actions, or maybe your path, or the direction maybe you even went?
I may have had a little bit to do with that, like a lot. So when, all right, about to be overshared. When my first son was born, please don't strike me down. He might have gotten a Rusty Wallace #2 onesie that had the little #2 race card. It did not have the Miller Lite logo on it, so full transparency. And then we would watch the race on Sundays. I mean, just this big. I mean, he didn't know. But when he would have a question, or we'd go outside and I was working on the car, it's just like he would always. There's a picture on the computer where Trevor's sitting there trying to drive, and actually on my phone, one of my screensavers is Tyler doing the same thing. That was just fun. It's not that it was intentional. Like, I'm going to teach them about this. It was, and I think this is true of anything, that if you take interest in it, your kids are going to want to take interest in it as well. If I'm outside, my dog wants to come outside. I'm not saying my kids are animal. Well, I'm going to go ahead and retract that sentence. I'm not saying that my kids are going to be involved in the exact same things that I am, because that's not true. I like everything in its place. And if, Trevor, you're watching this includes my wrenches back in my toolbox. Getting both of my children to clean their room? You pick your battles in life. I'm just convinced when they finally move out of the house, we're just going to have to wall off the upstairs and just never go there.
That's so funny.
I'm not making this up, Myra. So last weekend, my wife, you get this random voice from downstairs. Can you believe that our forks are now $70? I'm like, that's the third most random sentence I've ever heard in my life. Why are you? Well, because we only have like 5 left. Rewind. We had a full set. Where did they go? I don't know. And unfortunately, my brain is just sitting there going, I don't know what to do with this information. I have to solve the problem, but I don't want to. But it goes back to, I'm sure when they move out, we're going to find the rest of our silverware.
So funny. I feel like Logan's mom has had that conversation many times with the boys, that their silverware is always gone. Mm-hmm. So that's so funny.
It's a real thing, Mara.
Okay. So
yes, grab a pad of paper. Write this down. This is important.
Yes.
Don't have anything nice.
Okay. You hearing there, Logan?
Just saying.
So I know with parenting alone, there's like a lot of challenges, right? Oh, intermission here. We're making.
I keep seeing it like slowly slip.
There we go. So
thank you, Logan.
So with parenting alone,
great example of customer service versus experience.
Oh,
service, I would have had to ask. Experience, he anticipated my need and demand.
Man,
box checked.
Oh, all right.
Gold star. Sorry, what?
Hey, good observation. I didn't even think about it like that. Good job, Logan.
You may stay inside tonight.
With parenting alone comes a lot of challenges and many types of challenges. How important is it to make choices as or having these conversations as a partner with your partner about parenting as challenges arise?
Communication is absolutely key. Communication is the secret to any happy relationship.
Mm.
We'll be married 25 years this July. The whole secret to a happy marriage is communication. Melissa communicates everything I need to know. That was a sentence. That wasn't a punchline.
Sorry. Oh, oh. No, I
Did I do a funny? Because
no,
so
but
I'm actually having a dad moment right now. Your glass of water
Ooh.
right there on the edge is back
Thank
here
you.
over just twitching. Anyways,
Oh.
yeah, I mean, when they're young, toddlers, yeah, it's important, because, Dad said I shouldn't juggle knives. And Mom's like, yeah, but how are you going to get good at it? You do have to have a common front. Now, the other half is they play you and they know what they're doing.
Is the
The
kids.
children, absolutely. They play to this day.
Ooh. So how do you handle that?
You take a screenshot of the text message and you send it. You don't forward it because that can be tracked, but a screenshot can't be tracked as easily.
Oh gosh.
Hey, just checking that he checked with you. Nope, first I'm seeing this. Awesome.
Okay. So
Now,
what?
it can go the other way, and I think technology has helped that along the way because let's say, because I have customers that'll run all the way up till 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. Well, if my son leaves school at 4:30, I may be on a call. I may be on a video call. I may not be able to look at my phone, if he's asking, hey, buddies, we're going to go over to the Y to go work out. I can't. I'm working. I can't break away from that. And I'm sure I could tell the customer that, hey, normally my son gets off school. I just need a glance or whatever. I could have my watch tell me or whatever. But depending on what it is, he'll just text his mom and go, hey, I'm going to go over here. Grand scheme of things, we live 3 miles from the high school. Walk it, if I'm in the middle of something and I can't reply, you're 17. At some point you have to take your hands off it. You're going to have to figure that out. Now, if it's 6 o'clock and I'm supposed to pick you up and you're not there, oh yeah, it gets dialed from 1 to 10. And, well, why weren't you there? Well, just don't tell me anymore because if I don't know, I can't be held in contempt. So it's important to be on the same page, but it's not like the thing depending on the circumstance.
Okay.
Are you really going to split hairs that he and his buddies ran to Starbucks after school? I don't care. I don't. What, he's going to be hopped up on caffeine and get more homework done? We both know that's not true.
Get more homework done. I like that.
Yeah. No, they'll be up till 3 in the morning and stupid Xbox thing and just clickety. Anyway, editorial.
So, as far as like the principles, important principles and foundations to have at home, what are those? Do you think, or what are those that you live by?
Yeah, when it comes to, conversations, you just have to back it up and go, is this the one that I'm ready to die for? Is this really that serious of a situation that I'm going to dig my heels in and literally strike the match on an argument or not?
That's a very good question.
Is it just, they did something I'm mad about? Or, okay, take a breath. Now, what do you think? Sometimes you bring it on yourself. And secondly, there's other times where it's like, that's come up twice. There's something there. Maybe I ought to take a different look at this. But, really, when the boys have gotten older, then it just becomes more about, are they in a safe place? Do they know how to handle it? or have they been equipped with the right, experience to be able to handle that situation? Do they know that that's not right?
Mm.
Or, all right, they're having fun. It may not be right, but they're having fun. It's, if you and your buddies are just throwing rocks in the lake, I don't care. Well, what if they slip and get in the mud? Then we wash it. It's not that big a deal. Now, if you're throwing rocks at cars, what kind of car is it? I mean, that's a real sentence, because what if it's at a junkyard and you're just,
Oh,
or if it's your neighbor's Ferrari, ruh-roh, better get in front of that. That's, again, it's scope and scale.
yeah. I like that because it seems to me that you just kind of focus on the bigger picture.
Yeah, it's the same with employees. I mean, are you really going to bust somebody down because you didn't wear a button-down shirt today, but they're wearing, maybe a branded polo or something like that, with your company logo? Really? That's what you're getting twisted up on? I mean, you just have to, if they were in front of a customer, would it be acceptable?
Mm.
Okay. And just got to pick your battles. It's
Mhm.
not that important.
I feel like a lot of times we put so much importance on the thing that's in front of us. Where if if you have a mindset where you just kind of focus on the bigger picture, have fun, okay, how bad can it be? We can fix that. It's easier to just kind of start letting go of all these little things that maybe are just putting the brakes in our life, versus just advancing. And
Yeah. We're
and it
all
sounds so
adults.
simplistic, but it's not what we're doing, a lot of us today, right? We just kind of see the thing in front of us and we make it this big explosion when it's really just nothing.
Right. Why
And
is it
so,
always the third absence is the one that gets you fired? Why?
mm, good
Why?
point.
That's I would like to know the reason that you were late, and was it something that we've talked about?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because it could be your first one. Well, why are you late? Yeah, I just don't care. Oh, well, let me help you with your next decision. Because you just screwed your team because we got a project that we're working on or whatever, and then you roll in a half hour later, you're wearing flip-flops and whatever. We're about to go present to the board. Thanks for being you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the
And there's a balance there, because I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I really can barely keep mine together. But there is an expectation that when you start forcing your opinions and your style and all of that on others, you do have to step back and go, that's coming from a position of arrogance.
mm,
For instance, if you're going to be doing a presentation in front of the board or investors or a group of customers that are coming through, we all know you should be ready for that. You should look the part. Now, if you want to be different and you want to wear your flip flops and your shorts and you work in a bank, you can once, but
right.
it's just not the right thing to do. And kind of backing that up, it's not the right thing to do.
Mm.
So why are you trying to push the agenda? There's a perfectly good time and place for you to be able to express yourself. Absolutely agree. I'm not here to say that. However, if this is a client you're trying to secure, and they have money that's going to make payroll for this month, you may want to get on board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And I've had that conversation with folks, and I genuinely don't care what color your hair is. Mine's falling out in clumps. I don't care what color it is. But when it's bright blue and we're going to be talking with investors with big bags of money,
Right. You can't
yeah,
distract them. We gotta stick to what the yeah, I know what you
yeah.
mean.
Not
And
that there's anything wrong with that,
right.
but you've got to think about your customer. You got to think about the other folks in the room. Put on a hat that day for me.
Yes. Yes, I
And I
can
know
see
that's
that.
not a very politically proper thing to say, but at some point we do have to recognize that you're forcing the situation. And
Mhm.
that's not always the best way to get somebody on your side. And it's just like with the culture of the company. If it's
Mm.
portrayed as being very professional and very forthright, maybe this isn't the company for you.
Right. Right. For sure. For sure. So where when did the growth coach when was the growth coach born? And how did it happen? Or, how long had it been cooking before it was born?
Yeah, so great question. Um, I had been helping folks out, just kind of on the side. Hey, I was thinking about doing this venture. I want to put together this, that, and okay. So we sit down, we figure it out. So it's always kind of been there.
Mm.
And even going back further, if we had a department or a group that was struggling to hit their goals, regardless of what they were, you'd still kind of coach them through it.
Mhm.
So then when the opportunity popped up, it's like, oh, you mean this is like a thing? I can make money at this? Let's go take a different look at it. And there we were. So yeah, it got us out of the, kind of the garage band type thing and kind of a little bit more professionalized to do the same thing, but put a framework around it. I
Mm.
mean, I bought into this just because I didn't want to, I found myself constantly creating new workbooks and material. And I'm like, that's not a good use of my time.
Mm.
So I found this literally everything I needed was already up on the shelf. I can pull down different things as I need and go help my customer.
Okay. Okay. So how long have you been a leader at the growth coach or leading it, sorry?
So the upside is, technically, I'm the only one in the Dallas Fort Worth area.
All right.
Yeah, great news for me. And don't get me wrong. I mean, there's coaches all over the country, and I've got customers all over the country. It's more of a network than anything else. So if it came to conflict resolution, um, my definition is cage match. That's where we will solve this. To the octagon we go. But there's another coach in the Poconos who's way better at conflict resolution. So I would ask him to join in on this conversation.
Mm.
Now, if he's got a customer that is, they've got something funky going on and none of their numbers make sense, he's probably going to ring me up and go, you got a minute? I need you to look at a report. And I'm going to go, yeah, somebody's committing fraud. This makes no sense. Okay, run.
Okay.
Yeah, delete, delete, delete. I didn't see any of that. But that's also the pros and cons of both. That you do get to help out other coaches as well as
Mm.
customers, and sometimes I've had to ping his customers and vice versa. I mean, even other coaches in the country. I'm just picking on Rick unfairly, but and just call his customer and go, hey, you mentioned something really curious. Can you walk me through that because I think I may have a customer with that challenge, and I'm just curious how you went through it as a business owner, just to learn from that. It kind of opened it up to a larger network to be able to go, oh, I don't have to be the smart one. I just have to surround myself with the smart ones.
Mm. Good point.
Yeah. Life of a business coach. Every morning you wake up with, oh, that is a problem.
So what is your experience like when you mention, these problems? Most people want to fix the problems, but a lot of times maybe maybe a little bit of trouble accepting that that is a problem, maybe even. So how do you have these conversations with people that kind of give you pushback? Like, what is your strategy?
Oh, I use them for sport.
Oh yeah.
It's like,
Just
oh,
like
this is going to be fun. Oh, bless your heart. Honestly, it's kind of fun to get somebody to walk across the bridge and then go, I got it. I understand.
mm,
But 90% of my day is just helping you overcome what you know you can already do, but you have it in your head that it's hard.
mm,
Yeah, it's hard. Life is hard. Sorry. I mean, shocker. Life is. But running your business is hard and it's complicated and there's people counting on you. It's a lot of pressure and it's hard. Doesn't have to be. It's just hard right now. Get out of your own way. Go find people who can support your cause and help you.
how much of that help do you find a lot of times is really just accountability? Especially for the ones that, we are our own bosses and you don't have somebody telling you what to do. and so then
But you're still accountable to yourself.
true, true.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's up to you. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to go show houses, you don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have one of those Logan things. I mean,
Right.
right.
Yes.
Now, but you're still accountable to your family.
Mm.
I mean, you still want to go do that.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you're a sole entrepreneur, you want to make money. You want to do better. The end game is so that you don't have to do it every single day. You want to have a team of people out there working for you. Your job as the owner is not to do. Your job as the owner is to create new jobs.
Mm.
That's your job.
Mm-hmm.
If you're creating so much business and employing so many people, you're a good owner. You may be a terrible leader, which we should talk, but you're a very good owner.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually one of the first questions I'll ask business owners. What do you think your role as a business owner is? So, well, it's to provide the vision that swing and a miss. Your job is to create new jobs.
Mm.
If you're continuing to add to your workforce, that means your revenue's growing, your profits are growing. All of that stuff is clicking and ticking. And we could tweak on it to make sure it's efficient and da-da-da. But that's your job.
So, what would be one of the biggest challenges you face with your clients as you're trying to help them increase and elevate their business? What is one of the common things you're finding with the people you work with?
We have tried that before.
Um, and so how do you break that down how do you break that down? What would be the next thing you do?
Maybe you tried it in the past. Wrong.
Mm, okay.
And usually it is not that complicated. It's usually you got it about 80% of the way and then stopped watching it.
Oh, okay.
You're seeing some progress. Okay, that's got it. Now you're over here. Okay, well, that didn't work because you weren't doing that. So in your mind, it didn't work. Well, you were close. Or you're just not holding folks accountable. That's the other half is when I hand you a task and you don't do it, it sucks being the owner. You're going to have an uncomfortable conversation.
Mm. Do you find a lot of owners have trouble having difficult conversations?
Even if they have no problem confronting that, they're very bad at actually delivering it.
Mm.
If you're going to come across confrontational and you did this again, you're not going to get very far. I mean, because now you're back into that parent-child and, oh, daddy just yelled at me. Well, I'll show him.
Right. And then that trust
Right.
thing
It's just
and
completely gone.
okay, yeah. So, oh, yeah, yeah. So when the trust when you have a sense that maybe we need to rebuild some trust, get people back on the mindset of why they come to work every day. What are some of the key principles? Some of the key things for business owners to start working on, because it's not like, oh yeah, do this, boom, it's turned around, right? So usually they have to work on something. What if it comes with trust? If trust is it's the thing that we're trying to rebuild and get people on track with the reason they come to work every day and to try to empower them to do the best of their ability so that they can continue moving up and forward with their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Compassion.
passion, compassion.
Compassion.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
We're all people.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, we're all people. We're going to make mistakes. And it's a two-way street. It can't always be, well, our owner doesn't let us, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, if that's what you're going to get grumpy over, this isn't the right job for you. And to be able to have that conversation with your employees to go, this may not be the right job for you anymore. If that's what you're needing,
Mm-hmm.
I can't support that. But we're nice. And there's a difference between compassion and being nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's where everybody gets twisted up.
Oh.
You want to be liked. You want to be a friend. You want to not be the owner whose personal, that is their livelihood because you're being nice.
Nice,
Now, I'm
nice.
not saying being a complete jerk about it,
Right.
but you need to be able to have that difficult conversation, but still recognize this is a person on the other side. Maybe they have a good reason. Maybe it's the best reason for them. It may not be a good reason for you, but maybe you have 3 cars and theirs just got repossessed. Maybe they don't have a way to get to work anymore. It may not even be your fault as, their job provider to go, "Oh, okay, well, you have a lot going on in your life. That's right. I'm sorry your car I'm genuinely sorry. But as your employer, I can't necessarily say, well, I'm going to go buy you another car.
Right.
That's not always the right thing to do either.
Right, right. That makes sense. That makes sense because if they lost their vehicle, and they're in trouble, there's probably other gaps or holes they need to plug in their life. It could
Yeah.
be in their habits, or just maybe their environment they're in,
Yeah.
many things, right? So then, if you provide them exactly with the one thing they need without going through the process, it may do more harm than good at the end of the day. It sounds like I think about like parenting and how sometimes when I've seen some parents give give the kids everything and even when they're maybe being brats and they still kind of get away with those bratty actions, but then they still do it, then they grow up and maybe they're not so likable you know by the workforce
Those are
community.
they expect folks to
They
just do stuff.
expect.
Right.
Right, right. So,
And there are times where you have to have a lot of compassion as a business owner. Let's take that previous, example. Well, maybe this young mom, her husband just left and took all the money and, that's bad.
mm,
That's really bad. And it may be beyond her ability to fix that right away because I have to find a place for us to live. I got to get my kid food. We're all the way back down into primal needs. Getting to
survival mode.
work that's like number 4, right? So you as the owner then have to go, okay, this is not a personal attack on me. What can I do to help this employee? There's nothing I as their employer can do. I can't just give you money to solve the problem because that really doesn't solve the condition. But maybe this young lady has no idea what to do. Maybe her world is just so on fire, and I'm picking on a young lady unfairly, but it's just she's down here going, I don't have a way to get diapers today. I, that's my number one problem right now. You yelling at me, don't care.
That makes sense.
But maybe they don't know that they can reach out to charitable organizations or get whatever to help.
Right.
And again, now you're not directly solving that problem or fixing that temporarily. You're actually putting them on a different path.
Mm.
I Again,
Mhm.
you could have walked them out because this was their third tardy, but all you did now is made it worse.
Right. Right. And yeah, that's where like that is actual compassion because it's looking for what the greater good is despite, okay, this is what has to happen, but it's for the greater good. Um yeah,
And most
yeah.
folks they're not going to walk into work going, yeah,
Right.
so and so took off, emptied the checkbook, left me all alone.
Right.
Who does that? I mean, maybe somebody would, but that that would be the exception. So you, as their leader or their owner of the company, would have to look at that and go, "That's different behavior. Something has changed."
So, in your opinion, what are some of the key things, some of the key factors that a leader possesses? Would you say like when you think of a leader and what they bring to the table? What are say maybe three
Yep.
aspects?
Approachable.
Approachable. Okay.
We've
Yeah.
all had bosses that we never talked to.
Agreed.
I mean, I don't have to be your best friend,
Right.
but I should know my employees' names.
Mm.
Maybe as far as their spouse or their kids, common interests, things like that. Um, that's important because you're showing that they care and that you are interested in them as a person. Doesn't mean we're going to be best buddies because that's not going to take place all the time either. But get to know them. Then when you do have something happen, you can empathize a little bit more. If someone's spouse just suddenly left, that's crushing. And meanwhile, you want them to be on, and I'm picking on a call center. You want them to be on the phone and have a happy voice all day? That is not their fault. And that's also coming from a position of arrogance from you as the employer. Well, you just need to put on a happy smile. Oh my God, my world just collapsed. Are you kidding me?
Right.
You got to be approachable, and someone has to be able to trust you. And then you've just got to be on the lookout for talent. The folks that normally have people gravitating towards them in a room, those are the ones you're going to want to have on your team. Those are the ones that people are able to connect with and communicate with. Now, whether or not they are the best worker, I don't know. But if there's a difficult project or something that's coming down the line, I'd rather have them deliver the message because they're going to be able to rally the troops more than I could.
It makes sense. Kind of like in the military, people, put their lives on the line because they know, they trust that if they were in the same situation, and this is what like a lot of soldiers respond when they ask them, well, why did you put yourself on the line knowing you have a wife and kids? And they say, well, because they would have done the same to me. So it's similar like in a corporate environment, right? Like when things get shaky, when you need people to rely on, when things get bad, it's if the environment's unsafe, if there's no trust, it's kind of like that person not arriving at at 8 a.m. because they have other priorities. It'll be the same thing. They're gonna go to survival mode and they're gonna run away to save their own lives versus coming together because they feel safe in the environment, because they know that the person next to them is also looking out for them. And so, having a good environment, having trust, and having being one of the things you mentioned, like being approachable. When you create that environment, instead of people running away for their own survivorship, they come together and they solve the problem. And you mentioned multiple times when things need to happen, you kind of sit in a room and, okay, how are we going to do this? It's like you put a team together and you rely on each other to everybody's going to do what their part. And so it's a lot of it translates both, military in the workforce and even at home. And so, yeah, it's really, really interesting. So I know that one of you fell in love with the customer service aspect.
And
Like
the third one I would add would be have a sense of humor.
oh, yeah, you're not lagging any of that,
It is,
huh?
well, there are times when we're doing a serious job. That's not the time.
Timing.
Good Lord, you got to be able to take it easy. Life is too short. Just laugh. I mean, we all make dumb mistakes. I've seen reports and I've sent reports where there's a formula error. And you just go, oh, that was dumb. That was really dumb. And then you just look back on it and you go, yeah, but you found it. I mean, you just have to have a little bit of fun in life.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with that. And sometimes it's hard nowadays with living a fast-paced lives and, living on watching the time, the clock. And so
And we're afraid to say this might offend.
right.
Okay, again, it goes back to trust. And if you're genuinely not trying to offend someone, you probably won't.
What are some of the things that you learned that you didn't expect working as a coach with coaching other business leaders and even helping other leaders yourself? What it was one of the things that you didn't expect to learn and you know now?
Big one would be a misperception that I had that business owners knew how to look at their financials.
Mm,
They knew how to look at their bank account and know if it was good or wrong. To me, that was just well, duh, who wouldn't know how to do that? I mean,
interesting. Interesting. It's
so I mean,
interesting you had that perspective um and yeah.
in my brain when I started was, well, if you're running a business, you better know how to do that. So coming from a position of arrogance, but then once you peek under the hood, you go, there's a lot of moving parts.
Mhm.
That suddenly is no longer the most important. It's not even on the list for many folks. It's like, yeah, we're really busy, so I'm sure it's working. Okay. And then you start digging into it and you realize it's all right. It's not great, but it's actually not that bad.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's really interesting because it is so complex. I mean, you went to school, you studied finance, other people, start their businesses, whatever their background is, and not all of us study finance.
Which
Um
I don't understand.
Fair enough. Well, now we need more reviews, basically, more finance minded individuals.
There's more of me than my price tag would come down. So no, I'm fine with the number that we have.
Fair enough. So earlier you mentioned,
But it also requires folks to understand that that is important and seek somebody out who can help.
mhm.
Because you don't necessarily need, and I'm picking on CPAs, you don't necessarily need a CPA to do your day-to-day books, but you do need one to be able to provide that guidance as to, hey, this is going to be a problem if you keep this up. This is
Mhm.
going to either be a tax problem or it's going to be a blah, blah, blah. That's a challenge. So all of this stuff fits together. So you got to find vendors and or employees that you can really trust and ask hard questions to.
Well, one of the things too is I really see more and more the importance of building a team around you, a team that have their own set of expertise. So, you just mentioned, you would have you would rather hire a realtor to say, "Hey, I want to buy a house. This is what I want. Here's my money." And then for them to kind of make that journey as smooth as possible for
Mhm.
you, and that's where the value would be, right? So but that say for example, that real estate person may not know all the ins and outs of, like, say, the home, so then that's why you hire an inspector to give you their, so at the end of the day, it's not that any one person knows all these different areas. It's more so finding the right people to add to your team that can help cover those holes. And I think, like, what you do, it's so important. And I think it's like, I think more and more we're going to start appreciating even more in the future that importance as time in people's lives, because it's already, people talk about a life work balance, how it's, you know, th-
What a myth.
ooh, what a myth. You think so?
Everybody gets to define it for themselves.
Ooh,
It's just a question of
that's
priority.
true.
I was like, well, I don't have a good work-life balance. That is a choice.
Mm,
Now, you may not like one of the outcomes. Well, I'm not going to make as much money. You'll have more life.
mm.
Or I want a whole lot more money. Well, you better be prepared to work.
It is a choice. It is a
It is.
choice because it's a mindset, and so that's true.
I mean, folks, and this is me just being me. I have no professional training, and I'm not running any of this through a filter. If you're working for a company that is requiring you're there 70 hours a week and you're just tired of that, getting the employer to change is probably not going to happen. You're going to have to change, which may
Mm.
mean you have to quit that high paying job. If it's high paying, you may have to quit that job and find something else. You have to make a decision and don't necessarily assume the employer is going to make it for you
Right.
because you're an adult. Make a choice, right or wrong, just make one. It really is up to you.
Yeah.
When I was in college, I had all kinds of free time. I had no problem doing 70, 80 hours a week. Didn't bother me at all. I, I already had all my homework done. I was ready. Might as well put some coin in the bank. Awesome. Then when the boys were born, that changed. Then it was, well, I'm going to be done by 5 o'clock because I want to, and again, I needed to pick them up from the sitter and da-da-da. But I made that choice that I was not going to career this thing. No, I can take that project. And meanwhile, I'm neglecting.
Oh.
It's a choice. And is either one right or wrong? I can't answer that because it's different for
Mm.
everybody. This is the one that I made for us.
Oof. Yeah. Yeah, that is so true, and it goes back to maybe even like making a choice, it's hard because you have to think about it.
Mhm.
So if you just want to wish, but not think or do, then like you mentioned earlier, somebody else is going to make those choices for you.
Yeah, employers are always going to want more. I want it to
Hmm.
be more efficient. I need more out of each employee. I need more productivity. Yes, and that's not bad either.
Right.
That came across as that was a terrible thing, but no, that's not. I mean, it's
But
just
that's just how it
proper
is.
usage of resources.
Right.
Um, but if we really want to shift work-life balance, here comes the philosophical part. The labor force can mandate that way better than the employer can push the other way. If I already have 10 people and they all say they want to have a better work-life balance, I, as the employer, have a very easy decision to make. I better come up with a way to do that or everybody could leave.
Hmm.
Well, it's not necessarily that the employees are threatening to leave, but I, as their employer, need to look back and go, hmm, I need to be able, these are very key people. I need to keep them all. How can I do this? And sometimes you got to get creative. You got to figure it out. Maybe you do need to hire somebody else. Maybe you need to bring on a different client base. Maybe you need to increase your pricing to offset 100 different ways to get about it. But that's a much more efficient way to do it than trying to force it or legislate it that oh, we can only have a 32-hour work week, but we're going to pay you for 40. Well, where's the other 8 hours of pay going to come from? It has to come from somewhere. So
Hmm.
if the workforce is going, yeah, I'm just not going to take that job. I know I'm qualified. I'm not going to do it. Eventually, that will cascade out.
Hmm.
Or maybe you've just overset your expectations. I'm like, well, I only want to work 3 hours a day and make $400,000. All right, good luck.
Yes. Earlier you mentioned you're writing a book. You mentioned a book.
Two of them,
Two
actually.
books. Are you
Not
currently
at the same
writing them?
time because I can't do that. But
Okay.
yeah. Yes,
Are
currently, yes.
you're currently
Yeah.
writing both or one?
Yes.
Both?
Yes.
Okay.
But only one at a time.
Okay. Okay. So, tell me about the first book you're writing and why you're writing it.
So this is a book on priority management or time management, but since no one can actually manage time,
Mm.
simply on managing your priorities. Yeah, I know, deep.
Hey, yeah,
Um,
that yes.
yeah, but it's a follow-up to the goals one. Did I share that book with you?
No.
Lucky me, I brought one in the thing.
Oh, great.
And I didn't want to ruin the camera setup, otherwise I would have dug in my bag.
Oh,
But yes,
you can go in your
yeah,
bag.
but
Yeah.
now I'm tethered.
Logan will fix the camera.
There's a word I've never had to use before. Yes, so there we are.
Oh, okay. So,
There'll be a quiz on Friday.
okay, I'll be ready.
It's a quick one on goal setting and why they're so important. Yes, I've paid a lot of money for my children to kick balls into nets, so that's why there's a soccer ball in the front. But the priority management is another big one because everybody's, well, I never have enough time to get anything done. You have enough time. Are you working on the right things?
Mm.
Do you have the right people working on the right things? Are you trying to do it all? Well, then good luck. The other is actually a book on customer experience and how spreadsheets have destroyed customer service. I
Mm.
know spreadsheets are my friend. I'm about to say that they're not.
Ooh, really?
Again, it goes back to the original conversation. It's very easy to look at a spreadsheet and say, oh, well, we're going to have to spend, time actually talking to our customers. I'm going to have to spend more time while they're in my store. Yep. Well, that means I have to pay for that. Yeah, there's payroll involved. But is the probability that they'll increase either their size of their purchase or repeat business and all that, does that offset it? Well, do you want to spend the next 7 months going through calculations, or can you just put on your big boy pants and go, you know what, that is the right thing to do? When I walk in as a customer, that's what I would expect.
Mm,
Go do that. Stop. Just
mm.
go do that.
So goals. Why did you write this book?
I wanted to.
Fair enough. What
Good
drove you?
question.
What drove you to write this book?
I actually had to go downstairs and turn on the computer.
Yeah. No way. And then what happened next?
It was just on my list of things to do. I always
Yo.
wanted to have a book, and
Yeah.
I mean, then I realized that, wait a minute, they don't all have to be 1,000-page novels. What if it was just a quick, easy read? Literally, you could read that on an airplane or any other type mobile device. So if you live on a subway, you can read the book. Um, just something that was quick and easy. It's designed so that you could take notes in it. As you're thumbing through it, there's a whole thing on, there's lots of blank space because
I love the
I
quotes.
wanted it to be a pop-up book, but then I realized that's not appropriate.
I love the very first quote you have here by Jim Rohn. Success is steady progress towards one's personal goals. So, in theory, it's a universal goal because steady progress. I mean, when does that end?
Just
Right?
if you're going to sit there and debate and debate and debate, A, you're going to bore me. Secondly, just pick a path. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Just pick one. Go. If it doesn't work, try something else.
So, what is the book you're writing now? The second book? Because this is
That was
goals.
how spreadsheets killed customer service and
The
experience.
second one.
Yes.
Okay. And how far into it are you now?
About halfway. It's proving more difficult than I thought because how do you describe what good is?
Oh,
It's different to everybody.
right.
But when we see it, we know it.
Mm.
This is not a product placement, but we've all been to Chick-fil-A. It's awesome, but not just because of their sandwich. I mean, it's chicken, some breading, and a pickle, good pickle. But how do they treat you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even when, and this is a little example, after you've placed your order, do you say thank you? Try
Yes.
it next time. If you haven't, I
My
mean,
pleasure.
it's, hey, thanks. Oh, it's our pleasure.
Mhm.
It's always just no, it was my pleasure. No, it was your pleasure. It actually gets to be fun. And if they're not too busy, they'll get folks around on their staff to chime in and have that fun too. So it's that sense of purpose. That's what gets you to coming back. Do they do anything materially different other than that?
Mhm.
It's
You kn-
fast food.
Right. One of the things that has always stuck with me was you well, I remember the message, not necessarily the details, but I know that it was a shoe store that they provided like what you called a wow customer experience. And so that wow had like literally stuck with me. So every time I do something and I'm like, was that a wow experience? Um, and so that's basically what we're saying, that experience over, with Chick-fil-A, it's that wow experience because it's not the norm. You don't get that same service every other, or you don't find it easily everywhere. I mean, they're out there, but
Yeah.
they're just not like especially for being a fast food chain. um the type of experience that they provide to the customers. And so and you wonder because it's a whole environment thing, right? Like these people, and it is genuine. Like when you go, you it's not like, oh yeah, they're just saying it on, just cuz, or they didn't really meant it. You don't really get that feeling. It feels genuine, right? So
Yeah.
it's those wow experiences. And
Even
so,
after they've stopped working there, you can always spot somebody who used to work at Chick-fil-A or
mm,
used to work at Disney.
hmm
Companies that are just known for their service, and backing that up into the service book is that has a price, right? That level of training and recruitment that has a price. Well, somebody somewhere figured out that value and went, "Yep, that's the right thing."
mm,
It adds bottom line value to the brand and to the shareholders. So, is it more efficient to not do that or do it?
hmm
I don't know. Maybe this is, and I'm just picking on Whataburger now. The folks that are actually walking around with the tray of ketchups and all that stuff, somebody has to pay them to walk around the store. There's cost there. You could argue the other side that, well, if you need ketchup, just go up to the counter and get ketchup. They'll give you it, and it's not a big deal. Well, what is the difference? Well, you're asking the customer to have all the effort. They've already sat down, they're having their thing, and then you realize, they didn't put any ketchup in the bag, or I forgot to ask for ketchup when I was placing my.
right.
Would it be a major ordeal for them to stand up and walk all the way 10 feet to go get it? Probably not. But here there's a guy walking around or a gal walking around with a tray of stuff,
Right.
and that's their job.
Yeah.
That has a value. Well, is it driving value for the company or is it driving value for the brand? Everything has to be evaluated.
Yes, it's that value.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it has a cost, but that's where you don't want to go too deep down into the spreadsheets because you could look at
Mm.
this example, and I'm going to exclude our current workforce folks in the room who might be able to hear me. If you're trying to figure up on a man hour per customer, then having someone walk around with condiments on a tray doesn't make sense. Because, well, I could save money by not having them, and the customer can come up and get it. They're already standing at the front counter taking their next order. They can hand it. I could do away with the entire roll, and I look like a hero, and I save $70,000.
Mm.
Yes, but you no longer made it memorable for all of your guests. So you actually eroded value at that point.
Oh,
Ooh, that's hard to get back.
yes. And I think that kind of loops back to earlier when you were mentioning you started working with the retention
Hmm.
department. And it's like like going out there and getting new clients, it's the hard part. It's hard, right? Because you have to go out there and kind of compete with the market
Hmm.
to bring them to you, to for them to either buy, your product or your service, whatever that is. But I was one of the things I thought as we're speaking, and even as I open here the first two pages, the quote here by Jim Rohn, and one of the things he says, and God, man, it makes so much sense. It's like, it's when you get hired to do a job, and when you're out there looking for a job, the question is shouldn't be how much will I get paid. The question should be, what will this make of me? And so, and that would, if like that thought alone, like, if that puts people in a different mindset, I think, and maybe even um, get more than maybe you even expect by by knowing why you're doing, like, as an employer or an employee, going into work and knowing that, hey, when I complete this, or by doing this, this is what's gonna this is how I will this is what it will make of me,
Hmm.
basically, at the end of the day. Like, that is so powerful. And if employers can help their employees figure that out, or say, hey, this is, like, I want you to grow, I want you to, and it puts them in this, it's almost like that's their goal. Like, I'm gonna do this to the best of my ability, because there's a bigger reason, there's a bigger vision. I'm gonna be better than what I am here today. So like I really find it very interesting. Like the first part is Jim Rohn because I am, gosh,
Good guy.
I
And
couldn't believe I didn't know of him before. I'm like the world should listen to all of his content. It just makes things, it's funny because
meanwhile, we listen to folks, and I'm picking on Instagram unfairly. We listen to nonsense. I
yes.
I don't really care why blue is the new green. I don't care.
Hmm.
But to your point, there are roles where yes, I'd love to think that this role is going to make me a better person, but maybe it's just as simple as this role will not make me dependent on someone else.
Hmm.
I can be an adult.
Hmm.
I can do this on my own. I may not have, the big fancy car or whatever, but dang it, I can take care of myself. And don't underestimate that. I just watch, some of these shows and it's just look at all this shiny stuff in the background, but you just look at their face and go, but you are terribly miserable on the outside. You don't even realize it. And
Hmm.
then you're going, I know this is probably their 50th take of that scene, but the bigger boat doesn't matter.
Hmm.
Are you all right? That's important. And the other half is, yeah, the employer should watch for that, but it also does depend on the role. There are roles that you're going to dig ditches. It's a noble job. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with it. You're providing for yourself. You're able to at least afford, a meal. But the other half is don't expect to be paid $400,000 for digging ditches. Just
Right.
unless you're civil engineer and you have it, and that ditch is the one that's going to like save the planet. Then yeah, get paid for that. But where I'm headed is it's okay with the concept of a menial job. There's nothing menial about a job. Maybe you have to hold down 2 jobs, 3 jobs. Own your life. And
Hmm.
and it really is up to each person to attempt to own your path.
Hmm.
There are times when folks do need a hand and even up. I
Right.
got it. But if you're waiting for everybody to be a millionaire, then no,
Hmm.
that's not the right path. 'Cause then nothing has value at that point.
Right. Right. So then it kind of falls into like that value.
That was really deep. Well, hopefully we recorded that. There's chapter 2.
Yes. Yes. So you've always wanted to write books, a book.
I always wanted to rule the planet, but the book is like the next thing. No, I always wanted to have a book out there. When you look back and you start thinking legacy, and it'd be nice after the end of days that, oh yeah, and he wrote a book.
And he wrote a book. Wow. That's really impressive because now I'm thinking like um
Mainly because I know some of my buddies, and I'm sure some of them may even be upset that there aren't little pictures to color in as they're reading it. But again, as you're kind of looking back over things. It'd be, yeah, my dad wrote a book. Now, if anybody reads the book, they realize, well, it wasn't exactly a very deep book. Oh, that doesn't have to be. Again, pick something, go do it.
mhm. What was the thing, like the goal, or like what's the message that you hope in 2 sentences that you hope people get out of, say, this book, since it's already written, this goals.
What is the goal of the goals
Yeah, yeah,
book?
like what do you wish people take out of your book?
They make up their goals.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Good
Yeah.
talk.
Yes.
No, really, it's just come up with something that's achievable, but pushes yourself.
Okay.
And then you got to go execute against it. And it's okay if it changes. It's fine. I
Mhm.
mean, I've always been fascinated with that. Thinking back corporate wise, that we would do budgets in like August, and they'd finalize in October for the next fiscal year. And then you realize by January the market has completely changed, but everybody's goals and objectives were written for something from last August. Well,
Hmm.
what, can we just change it? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I love the approach you take, honestly. Like it's It actually kind of that's one of the things I do love about Jim Rohn is how just simplistic he puts things. Like
Did you
it's
just call me simple?
no, no. Well, that's one of
Yep.
the weird
There goes the other
things.
feeling. Now it's been hurt.
That's one of the
You're right.
weird things, right? That like it's like we almost want to find that magic answer, and we have the answers in front of us, and we're like, no, that's too simple. You know what I
Don't
mean? Like,
overcomplicate it.
yes, right, right. And so as you're speaking, like, and I just Jim just kind of came into my mind now, but I'm making that connection. Like, it really is not that we make it complicated for our own selves.
Not to pull religion into it, but even look at the Ten Commandments. Now, granted, George Carlin's bit is 10 times funnier than mine, but they all boil down to two things: be honest and don't kill people.
Mm.
Okay. Do we need 10? No, I'm glad we have them. Don't get me wrong, because it does remove the ambiguity from it. But again, just simplify. Life is too complicated.
Right. Yeah. I love that. I really do because it kind of takes like weight off the shoulders, and it kind of makes space to figure out like what truly does matter. What is the goal, and
Yeah.
like why are we, and it's important to understand why we're doing these things, right? So like for you, why do you do everything you do?
It's fun.
Mhm.
It's fun.
Yeah.
If I'm bored, I'm gonna get distracted, and then
Yeah.
I'm chasing squirrels.
Yeah.
It's you got to find something that you enjoy doing. I love numbers. I numbers are not for everybody. I have met
Mhm.
those people. Cool. Don't ask me to draw a picture or a logo or is this a better representation?
Mhm.
And it's not that I don't have an opinion. It's just not a priority for me. It does not matter to me. So I'm not the right person to ask. I've been shown different logos and well, what about this branding and this? And I'm like, it makes the phone ring. And it's not that I'm being cold or insensitive.
Yeah.
I just don't care.
It makes sense.
Yeah, when the coffers are full of cash, now I'm happy. And if this little magic circle with a little reindeer in it or a little if that's what made the phone ring, great.
How much of books do you read yourself? Like how much into books are you? I know you're into
Comic books
numbers.
count.
Sure.
I mean, because let's be honest. I mean, in 2020 with COVID, The Walking Dead, that may have been a documentary. We just didn't
Mm.
realize it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, and this isn't a reflection on intelligence. I like the short books. Get to the point. I don't have time to read 500 pages on why, just tell me what the important bits are. I'm busy. I don't have time. Again, it's not a priority I don't need the whole. You wrote a book. I get it. It's hard. You're smart. Tell me the important parts, and then how can I actually apply that?
Mm.
And that's usually where there's so many choices, and I need a book on blah, and you have 5,000 choices. Well, which one? Do you pick the one with the most stars or the most pages? Or, this guy's written 75 books. This one's only written two. Ugh, I tune out. Then I just start texting buddies and friends and going, hey, I'm looking to read a book on blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, well, try this one, try that one. Oh, two people said the same thing. That's the book I'm getting.
Makes sense. Simplify things.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you learn on an entire book on Batman. You didn't mean to learn about Batman, but now you know about Batman, so it works.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. So, what kind of you mentioned earlier legacy, and it's funny. I was going to ask a question. In that department, like when you depart from here, what would you want people to remember you for? Like, what would you like?
That I tied up traffic for 3 days.
How so?
Well, either it's going to be an awesome show with like fireworks and then the jets that fly over and then or just so many friends that the motorcade's just that long. But then I would also question is like, really? You guys took off 3 days work for this? I mean, no offense, I'm dead. I've gone on to a better place. Y'all are wasting your time with this mess. But again, at that point, it's no longer about you. You know, I just hope my kids are happy, that they're able to take care of themselves, and that's really the end game.
Mm. So, what would you like your kids to remember you? Like what?
I want my kids to remember to put my tools away.
Okay, that's it. That's a good
Yeah,
goal.
and cut. No, you know, I just hope that, you know, when they raise their families, if they decide to have families, just take a breath. I worried about way too many things that were not even close to important. Just
Mm.
live it. Just have some fun.
Do you think that's why, like, you make the choices you make today because maybe you saw, um, like how much you worried in the past about things?
I took things way too serious in the
Yeah.
past. Yeah,
Oh,
even my
really?
oldest, I told him that. Sorry, I didn't mean to kick you there. When you go to college, go have fun.
Mm.
Part of being in college is doing dumb things.
Okay, so you feel like you took life too seriously
At times, yeah.
at times.
At
Okay.
times. You
Okay.
know, and again, you needed the new car, you needed the fancy house. You're trying to check all these boxes. Well, I have to do it faster than, you know, my parents did and, you know, my brother and and then you go, well, that was dumb. You know,
Mm.
okay, I did all that. So what?
Mm.
Doesn't matter.
That 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 makes sense. And then you start maybe looking at what truly matters. So, and that's why you emphasize to just enjoy it and not take everything
Yeah.
so
There's
serious.
a time and a place.
Mm.
Learn the balance.
Mm. I like that. I really do. So
And don't tell me about it. Jesus, don't tell me about it. Hey, Dad, the other night was no. You're over 18 now, so you're an adult.
how many more books do you want to write, or do
Mhm.
you? You don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah, it just depends.
Yeah, I mean, I don't make Anne Rice money off of these, so I mean, not really being commissioned to write them. I write them because they're fun and they do add some credibility. You know, when you're up speaking or whatever, that you know, yeah, grab a book in the back. You know, and again, I find them a little bit helpful.
Yeah, for sure. I have no doubt about it. Especially when you talk about goals, I feel like we more of us need to have better or defined goals
Yeah,
at
that's
least.
why it's an easy book. I mean, that's why
I
it's
like
this
that.
thick. Don't overthink it.
I like that. I
Just
like
put a
that.
pin on the wall and go do it.
So you mentioned like the speeches and this when you talk, and I know you do a lot of community work in your city where you live
Mhm.
in Capel. So
Sometimes you volunteer, other times you've been voluntold.
so what do you do? What do you do exactly when it's a Capel chapter
Chamber.
Chamber of Commerce?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So
Most cities have them.
yes.
And they're fun. But you got to find the right one. This is the one that fits for me.
Hmm.
Tried a couple different ones out. This is the one that worked. And
What do you like best about it, or why did it work with
it's
you?
the people.
Okay.
And it just keeps going back to that
Mm.
common theme. Um, and it isn't necessarily the chamber staff, which that's important, but it's also the other business owners and other volunteers, you know, that are part of it, that they care and not just about the community, but about you. They want to get to know you and what you need and how they can help. Not just, oh, well, you know, Myra sells houses. So, you know, well, I'm not buying a house, so I don't really need Myra. Well, I don't know who Myra knows. You know, if I can get Myra to also then be my marketing team, you know, when you're off meeting with folks or whatever, and you'll hear different keywords and you go, oh, I got somebody for that. You know, well, now I just made it easy for that person. I just reduced their demand. I can actually connect you up with somebody. And at the same time, I'm helping folks over on this side. Yeah, I'm sending you a hot lead. Here, help them. I'm more apt to do a good job because, well, I don't want to make Andy upset, so I'm going to take extra special care. Either way, that customer gets taken care of.
Yes. Yes. I like that. So what role do you have with them? Like what do you I know, sometimes you volunteer, sometimes you get voluntold. So like what do you do? What do you bring to the table? I mean, I'm sure a lot,
I mean,
but what
pure awesomeness, but no, really. So I sit on the board and I've got the investor relation vertical. So I sit on the executive board to make sure that we're bringing in the right members and we're keeping the ones that we have and making sure that all that's working. Now there's many fingers that go out of that, so that if we hear that something is needed in the business community or something is needed in the nonprofit space, we'll bring that back to the board and go, hey, we're hearing this over and over again. How can we do that? And that may stay with my vertical, or maybe it goes over to one of the others. I mean, that's the concept behind it.
Okay.
That's a big fancy way of saying we send a lot of text messages to go, hey, have you thought about, yeah, well, we have okay, cool. So that's one aspect. The other is the networking group on Wednesdays that I help support. Layla Moore is actually the one who, she is so darn funny. If you have to think about folks, are they in the right job? Layla's in the right job. She's the director of investor relations, and really she's a lot of fun. So this networking group really designed just to bring small businesses together and just have an hour where we can, learn about each other. We'll do some networking, and then we'll lead a conversation. When it's my turn, I tend to find that I turn them into mini coaching sessions. And the best part is nobody knows that that's really what it is. We'll just pick a topic and work through stuff, which is exactly what we do in a coaching. We'll pick cash flow. I'm picking on cash flow. Everybody likes to talk about how they have no cash flow. Okay, well, what are the elements that go into it? Well, you got this and this and this and this, and none of those are negotiable. Okay, well, Captain Grumpy Pants, I can't help you. So, but again, you just get folks to start thinking about it a little bit different, and then you start bouncing ideas around, and that's really all we're doing is just guiding a conversation. And then I've just learned that I'm on the Taste of Capel committee, which didn't know. I got that email when I got back from Florida, and you go, all right, no idea what that is. I was like, oh yeah, you helped out last year. I'm like, I sat at the counter and ran the credit card machine. That does not qualify. But again, I mean, the person who's chairing the committee, Ramesh is a great guy. I mean, I'll help him, whatever. It'll be out, drumming up support and getting local restaurants to want to come out and, bring their favorite dish, and we'll all vote on it to see if it's really good. And I mean, it's a way to raise money for the chamber so we can continue to do programs, but it's also kind of fun.
Yeah, I like that. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of fun.
It sounds like right up your alley too. Well, the first part, all of it really. It sounds like they have a great leader there, and I say that just on my own personal experience. I really do see you as a great leader. You inspired me
You're
so
way
much.
too generous with all that. I mean, it's just a question of you got to find out what makes your folks tick. That's it. And then you just surround yourself with good people. I mean, if we think back to, when we were working together over at the alarm company, take 2 steps back from it and then look down upon that interaction. It was everything that wasn't the main group, but it was absolutely critical to everything around it. Well, we just moved a couple pieces around and then the cogs started to work. That wasn't hard. It wasn't. I just made sure that I had the right people in the right role and they were happy doing what they were doing. I mean, that's when you and Jessica would, well, I don't know how to call somebody about, cool, your way down to the first floor, right?
Yeah, that's interesting because even though you weren't, that's one of the most like astonishing things I would say. It's you were never really like in the weeds, but you always had the right answers. And now
Just making it up.
looking back now, it was you knew where we would find those answers. You knew how to direct us. You understood what we needed help with, and you knew how we would, like, you just had the right answers. Um,
Well, I looked at it two ways. One, I could have brought those people to us and they could have done formal training and then everybody would have been bored and then whatever. You would have been learning at the rate that you needed to learn it,
mm,
which was yesterday because we got the edict that we had to go do it. Cool. It's faster for you to go down there and do that.
yeah.
Now, sometimes that doesn't always make sense. But secondly, if I'm always the one trying to solve it, well,
Yeah.
then how do you continue to progress in your
Oh my
career?
gosh,
I mean,
yes.
you can't.
Right.
So again, it's just making sure that your folks are empowered to go do what they know the right thing to do is. And if they've hit that wall and just, I don't know how to go do that. You guys knew how to go do that.
Mhm.
And I can't speak for what had happened prior to that, why that wasn't okay. I don't care. But yeah, guys, I trust you. Go
Yeah.
learn that. You know the questions that customers are going to ask. Don't let me hold you back.
Yeah.
And then you guys really started to build on that, and you literally became the experts in all of these devices. And when
Yeah.
the customer would have a problem, you're like, no problem, Grandma. We know how to do that. Hang on 2 seconds. You have a paper clip? I'll show you how to do it.
Yeah.
And you then were able to instill that confidence with the customer that I got you. Don't worry. Don't worry. I
Yeah.
got you. I am not being held to this. I don't have 60 seconds or I'm going to get yelled at.
Right.
No, go do the right
Right.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree because I feel like that was such a huge area in my life where, like, I did grow quite, like, I just thinking at the time, I don't think I understood that.
Yeah.
But looking back now, when I think of all these different things that I started seeing important, like, oh, well, that matters. Like, making sure that we provide a good experience. I think you were one of the ones that mentioned. I say this all the time, but I think you're the one that taught us or taught me this was, um, people may not always remember what you say, but they'll always remember how you made them feel.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, I mean, many. It's. I've mentioned already a few things that you've said that have impacted me till today, and
Oh,
well,
yeah.
you know what I mean.
Get a
S-
stone tablet and chisel that one down. That's an important one.
yes.
But it also required, so let's walk this one, dollar wise, because that was expensive for us to have you guys down there and you're learning all this stuff. Why just didn't we pull one of the technical people up and put them on the team? Okay, but they're great talking with other technicians, but they're not trained to talk to a customer. Could I have trained them? Maybe, but that's not what they were good at. So why would I force that?
Hmm.
But I had to convince the C-suite, the executives that, okay, guys, I understand that this is taking a long time. What's the cost of getting this wrong? We could have someone die. That's terrible. Not only that,
Hmm.
but they're probably going to sue us. That has a dollar value. Now we're into probabilities. Well, fortunately, we didn't have to go down this big long path of, well, let them sue me. We could have, but the
Right.
decision was made, no, you're right. That's the right thing to do. We just need to make sure that we're able to convey that. So I
Hmm.
know, why do we have to document in such a way? Well, because we're justifying that this is actually worthwhile, because if it ever does come back, it is up to the customer to take the action. I've called you. I've told you how to do this. If you still didn't do it, technically I've lowered my probability of
Right.
a lawsuit, but you guys had to be shown how to do that and then given the bandwidth to go do it.
Right.
Don't let me
Right.
stand in your way.
So that's impressive. And looking at it from, like, your side, it's in that kind of, kind of comes into a complete circle with what you do now. That or what we did was such a. I mean, looking at the big scope, that was such a little thing. It's one small thing of many moving parts. That one situation that affected that what we were doing, what we did really defined, or not didn't define, but it really minimized a gap,
Mhm.
like the getting sued part, where it's like getting insurance is, you don't want to need it and not have it. You want to have it and not need it. It's like you want to cover. um
At the end of the day, we don't want anybody to get hurt. We never did.
right.
But things happen.
Happen. Right.
And if we do see something, we do owe it to a customer to take an action on it.
Yeah.
Even if it's written into the contract and do you really want to get lawyers involved when grandma's dead?
Right.
It,
Yes.
if I could prevent that from
Uh,
happening, well, then why wouldn't I spend a couple dollars on a phone call?
right.
Doesn't make sense to me.
And again, it's one of those things to look for, and or it's like the vision and understanding like where you put values or the right thing versus the cost.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's really impressive because it's essentially it just kind of translates to what you do now. You look at every little different angle when sometimes the owner, they're so involved in their everyday, you know, business, and they've been doing it the same for years, that maybe they've just kind of forgotten to check some things or update. Things change, right?
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, even setting like the corporate goals in August, and here comes January. Now you have a different market. It's like things change, so it is key to have a good like team on your side. And I think you provide a whole lot of value. Even reading about you, I'm like, wow, like this is so true, and there's so much value here. um
So what I'm hearing is I need to raise prices.
yeah.
Okay, good talk.
That's coming, I'm sure. Definitely, I'm definitely sure about that. So what are some of the people you like working best with when you're with your clients? Like some of the either the lines of work, or what do you enjoy working with the most?
Yeah, I like working with folks that they've got a small team. If you've got 5,000 employees, yeah, we can. That's just a bit outside of my scale because it's going to take too long.
Mm,
At that point, just hire me. I mean, just put me on staff and give me the keys and come back in a few months and we'll talk.
mm,
But small businesses usually can't afford to put a full-time person on to do that stuff.
mm,
You hire a coach. I mean, I'm going to be able to come in and it's at a reasonable price. I keep joking about price, but it's very reasonable, at least to me. But we'll put a plan together and we'll work on a couple different things. You cannot change all four tires on a race car in the middle of the race. You can't do it. But maybe we can tweak one or two things over the next several weeks. And that's all, again, it goes back to the progress on it. It doesn't matter how you got in the corner. It doesn't matter. It's a series of yes, no decisions that got us here. Right, wrong, it doesn't matter. What are you going to do about it? Are you just going to sit over there and boo-hoo it? And it's like, oh, woe is me. Or are you going to try and change it? Because if you're going to try and change it, I can help. If you just look for somebody to validate the mistakes that were made,
mhm.
sorry.
Right.
I mean, I'll give you a hug, but I can't. I'm not here to do that.
And that's what a great coach should be like, to help to help stay in line with the goals.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're here to push you. We're here to hold you accountable. We're here to run the practices. Is a safer place in that we're going to try things. Maybe
Mm.
it works. Maybe it doesn't work. I don't have all the answers. That's why we build them up together.
Right. Right. I mean, that of course, that makes so much sense, and I love the approach. I love it because it's everybody's life is different, everybody's business is different, everybody's way to maybe their goals for their business is different.
Yeah.
So I love how you kind of come in and you just set a goal, set steps, and try different things. Try different things because I mean, if some, I guess for me, if somebody would say, "Hey, do this and you'll 100% succeed," that's more like a red flag.
Yeah.
Like what do you know what's gonna make me succeed? Like you just want my money. You're just bluffing. Versus
Yeah.
somebody that's like, all right, well, we'll look at it together. I'll meet you where you're at, and we'll go from there. We'll try different things. Like, I truly, truly believe in that, like all the value, in my opinion, all the value is there,
Yeah.
100%.
I get that question about how long is this going to take?
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, because it's not all up to me. I mean,
Right.
I'm going to help work through the plan. I'm not going to build a plan for you. If I'm going to build a plan for you, I'm going to value your business, buy it, and then fire you.
No, you're
Well, I mean, I
right.
don't need you anymore because it's
Right.
no longer your company. It's now mine. And I'm going to run it the
Mm.
way I want it. And if I was smart, I'd also hire another coach because I'm not the smartest person in the world. Second, but anyway, not important. Um, but along those lines, I don't necessarily have every single answer. If your
Mm.
marketing's not working, I don't know why. Now we're going to go pull in some people and we're going to look at some metrics. We're going to figure it out.
Mhm.
But I can't just, well, pull that lever, that one. Then you're going to have to put another 5,000 at it. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Right.
And
Right.
we might try some things and it doesn't work if we're looking at how our team is not communicating. We can go through some modules on communication. If folks don't want to play along, I can't make them. I
Mhm.
mean, that's not going to happen.
Mhm.
Now, we may have to make some difficult decisions in life.
Mhm. Yeah. Right.
You may have to ask that. Is this the career path you want to be on? Because
Right.
we are making an organizational change. If you don't want to come along,
And that's where those tough conversations
mhm,
need to happen, that maybe a lot of us don't know how to have those conversations
or don't want to,
or don't want to.
well, I can sit at the same table. I
Yeah.
mean, sometimes it is just a confidence boost.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, there's very very interesting. So where
You do, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. You also get to celebrate the wins.
mm,
I have a great customer in Arizona, and yes, I'm going to say it. Um, when we first started coming together, there was a whole bunch of woe is me, woe is me. I don't see how this is ever going to work. And literally, as late as yesterday, to see a text message of a screenshot of her current month to date sales and what she thought was going to be a really slow month, here in May, she's up 17% over prior year. And you're going, or I'm sorry, over prior month. So you're sitting here going, you've got a good customer base. Let's continue to grow this.
mhm.
And in the back of my head, I'm going, well, it's only 17%. I mean, you're the only, why isn't it 34? Yeah, but sometimes you let some folks have some win. But it's been so reassuring and it's been a lot of fun to kind of watch her grow and get out of that, woe is me, everything's against me, I don't have any support. You know how to do this.
Mm,
You can do this. And aside, she also had some personal things going on, some challenges there too. So, I mean, lots of headwinds. And as she's coming, it's nice to have somebody in your corner and just
mm.
go, you know what? That sucked.
Yeah,
But what are we going
right.
to do?
What are we
So
gonna do?
that's fun. When you see your customer that you started working with and now they're staring at $1 million in revenue this year and you're going, yeah, you could do it. I knew you could do it. You just didn't know how.
Wow. Yeah, that's where it makes it all kind of, where that's where the fun is
Yeah.
in the satisfaction, the gratitude.
Yeah. Best response I've had when I've done a proposal with a customer and they're kind of pushing back. Well, if you know how to do all this stuff, how come you're not doing it? I'm like, because I don't want to be a plumber. But the concepts on how to do it, it's very similar.
Mm,
Being a plumber versus running, Amazon. The concepts are very similar. It's the level of complexity, the tasks, the how you have to supply that, customer demand. That's the only thing that's different. But you're going to have goals. You're going to have metrics. You're going to have to hold yourself to it. All of that stuff is still there.
mm. So you do a lot for the city, for coaching, for your family. What do you like to do for, like, for Andy time, like for you to decompress and maybe catch up on your thoughts? Do you do any sort of meditation? Do you, like, what do you like to do?
I'm so glad they've repealed prohibition in this country. No, honestly, the little dog and I, while my youngest is at soccer practice, if coach doesn't need any help, then we will go for walks. We'll walk 3.5, 4 miles a couple times a week, and you get a lot of thinking done. It just you'll just pick pick a topic, and then a mile and a half later, you go, "What was I talking about?" And you realize that
Mm.
all you did is just cleared your mind.
Mm.
Only downside is it's now almost June, which means it's going to be hot. So,
Yes. Do you still do your walks?
oh yeah,
Do
yeah.
okay.
We've got a gallon jug that we freeze, and we keep water in it for the dog. So she has a nice cool drink, and I've got something on my back that's nice and cold. And
Very nice. I love that. I know you've always had dogs since well since I've known you. So that's did you ha- is that the only dog you have now?
yes,
Yes, okay, cuz you had other pets
I'm
before.
actually a cat
Are
person.
you
But yes, why is
really?
everybody so surprised?
Cuz you have a dog.
Well, we don't have cats right now.
Okay.
So when my wife and I first started dating, I had 3 cats. So I was the crazy cat guy, which explains so many things now that I've said it. Hmm. And now that I do have a son who is a mini me, uh,
Uh-oh.
we're back. I'm sorry. Honestly, and my wife had a dog, at the time, and I mean, when the kids were, younger, now we have a dog, and she and I get along great, and I took her on walks, and
Okay, that works out. What kind of goals do you have for the next 5 years? It's
the
5 to 10 years.
next 5 years,
Yes.
I haven't even thought about 5 years.
Really, I'm
I mean,
surprised.
really, it's just to get the boys through college. Everything else, all the major projects, all of that's in play. When it comes to retirement and all that's all already in play.
Mm.
Which it does take some stress off to at least have a plan. Even if it's not fully funded or however you want it. Oh, the economy didn't $6 eggs. Okay, yes, every day is going to have something's not going to go to plan.
Something, right?
But that's okay. You still got to have a plan. Just stick to the plan.
Mm.
Flip side being, again, I need to get the boys out of college and get them set up so that I can get them off of my payroll.
Yes.
So I don't want to say that the bar is that low, but there's a lot of tasks that have to happen.
That well, having like I like actually how you said you already it's already something that's continuously that it's already set in play and just it- you're just kind of doing what you're doing every day based on those goals that are already set. Huh.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
it really
folks will
makes
ask
life in a sense easier,
a little bit cleaner.
cleaner.
If you sit there going, okay, well, what are the 3 things I have to do today to make sure that today was a successful day? Well, I didn't die in a car wreck on the way over here, so go ahead and tick that box. I mean, again, at what point do you just go, why is it 3? Why is it 5? Could it just be 1?
Mm,
Did you move one thing forward? Or maybe you just had a day where I didn't do anything today.
mm,
I needed a day.
mm-hmm.
Okay, fine. Everybody's got to recharge.
Gosh, I like that.
I mean, there's consequences. Well, I didn't get anything done.
Ah, right.
Yeah, but that's also the point. Today I didn't get anything done.
I just like how you just it's the bigger picture. It sounds like to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the big picture is already in play, and every day is just it's another day that's already been that you know you're on the path to wherever it is that you've already pre-made that goal.
Yeah.
That's it makes sense, really. It makes so much sense.
Yeah, I mean, right now I just got to figure out, world hunger, world peace, and then global warming, and then I'll be done.
Okay, those you'll get there in no time, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. All
sure thing.
right. Wow, that's very honestly, that's very interesting. I didn't really expect to really I thought you were much more complicated and
Life's too complicated. You got to simplify it.
mhm.
Pick 2 things, do them.
Mm, yeah. Wow. Where can like people find you? Like if there's a lot of people now that have gotten into the entrepreneurial mindset and they want to do their own thing. And so for people that have done already a lot of the legwork and now maybe they're stuck with growing their business, like how can they get a hold of you?
Hit the website. It's the easiest way. I'm assuming that'll be on the podcast.
Yeah.
But that's the easiest way. I
Easy.
mean, let's have a coffee. Let's sit down. I mean, I don't have all the answers, and much less we're not going to figure it out in one meeting.
Right.
I always look at those coffee one-on-ones as it's almost a dance.
Mm.
You're not going to tell me everything on day one. I'm not going to tell you everything. We have to begin to
Mm.
trust each other. I have yet to have a customer in our very first one-on-one come out and go, "Oh, everything is broken." Nobody does that. It's usually the very opposite. No, everything's great.
Mm.
Then why am I here?
Yeah.
Let's just cut the chase. Tell me why I'm here. What are you struggling with? So again, you kind of help walk a customer through.
Mm.
What are some of your challenges? Are you hitting your targets? Where do you see your market growing or shrinking? And that's usually where you hear some common things. Well, I've got employee turnover, or my margins aren't where I want them. My marketing isn't working. Okay, which again, those are so high level. Nobody can offer you a solution for those on
Mm.
day one. And at the end of the day, I'm not really in the solution business. Otherwise, I would walk in with a 3-inch binder and go, here, go do that.
Mm.
It's not cookie cutter. So it takes a little bit of time and a little bit of back and forth. I will say when customers look at proposals, there's usually nothing on that document that surprises, not even the price, because we've already talked about it.
Mm.
We've already walked all the way through it. Now it's just a question of, well, which one of these items are we going to start with?
Mm.
Everything's broken. Yeah, I know. Which one do you think can make the biggest impact today?
Mhm. Oh, okay. I like that. I like that. All right. So, are you on social media much?
Not today,
No.
but yes. And again, I use it. It's necessary, but that's not like the channel.
Right.
I'll post some ideas and topics out on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and occasionally out on LinkedIn if I think it makes sense. I've just got a personal thing with LinkedIn that I'm not trying to sell on LinkedIn. It just comes off putting to me. So I just don't do it. But really, it's just informational. I've got 2 sessions coming up. If you're interested, I've got one on profitability, increasing profitability, and the other on sales. So why would a finance guy care about sales? Because it's important. And it can really be boiled down to a couple things,
Okay.
just like most tasks.
And are these like webinars or what kind of?
C, all of the above.
Oh,
So one of them is in person, which there'll be lunch. We'll actually be over at Life Safety Park in Capel, over the train station, because it's an awesome room. So shout out Life Safety Park. And the other will be on Zoom, 8:30 in the morning next. Not this Wednesday, the one after.
okay. Do you have any speakers?
I have 2 of them. They're both on my desk.
So- Wait, no, it's in person, right? 2?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I can speak.
Okay, okay.
I'm pretty good
Well,
at it.
I know,
Been
yes.
doing it since I was 2. But anyways, yes, I'll be the one leading the conversation. And I do want to highlight though that these are not like outward conversations. It's more a topic based thing. We're going to talk about blah,
Okay. Yeah.
and away we go.
That makes sense.
Even on profitability. The formula is very simple. You have revenue, you have cost, and then there's a number. Is a number negative or positive?
Okay.
That's the formula. Well, which levers do you pull? That's where you start the conversation.
I see.
Well, now I can cancel the session because I just disclosed everything.
There you go. All you got to do is just listen to this podcast.
I agree, and I'll teach you everything you need to know.
All right. So, okay. So I have one last question I like to ask all of my guests, and that is, what is like your personal definition of happiness? It's different for everyone. So what's yours? Quiet. Is really? Is that your happy place?
Honestly, I'm okay with quiet.
Mm.
And it's not that I'm not a people person. Um, it There's something in the peacefulness of quiet,
Mm. And
which is odd considering what I listen to.
I
Anyway,
and when you say quiet, I'm gonna take it a step further. Is that do you like to be quiet out in nature or more in a enclosed space? What's your preference?
so if you think about those shows where it's like I'm the last person on Earth, that. No, I mean sometimes you just need some space, and whether
Mhm.
it's out, I enjoy the mountains. I like that. That's
Mhm.
perfectly fine. Even if it's cold, that's fine. Um, I'm okay there.
Mm.
There's fewer distractions, just left alone, and you think and think and think, and then you go, oh, that's how I can do that. And
Mm.
you just go on to the next topic.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
but, don't get me wrong, I don't mind being around my family. I kind of enjoy them.
Okay, well that's good. That's good. Good news for them.
Yeah, yeah. They made the cut.
They made the cut.
So
Oh
yeah,
god.
I mean that's happiness. You're right. It's a funny question because
Mhm.
there's also those moments when you solve a problem. It's like that was good. That was
Mm.
good.
Mm. I like that. All right. Well, Andy, thank you again for, you know, just being here and sharing your story with us. I find it really inspiring. Like I said, this was somewhat of a challenge for me uh because you make me a little bit nervous, um, in a good way, like in a good way where um, I just never know what's gonna come out of your mind, and I think I think of
That
you
makes
as
two of us.
Yes. And so I think of you always like as like when I think of for me, speaking of personal experiences, right? Like you are someone that I would like to save and like learn from it and like I don't know, it's something about you that it's like you're different and
Be
and
very careful with your next sentence.
and you are I would say you're like inspiring
Yeah.
because you just don't find many people that are smart and compassionate. I think you have those and it's a funny mixture because you don't find that a lot. So,
Well, I appreciate that.
yeah.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here again and it
Thank
was
you for having me.
a pleasure talking to you.
Awesome.
All right, till next